go down in your living room and you pick up your kids and look at them and you're like, damn, that's very, very devastating and dramatic. But the thing that really crept up on me is it's like you defenseless. Your mind goes defenseless because you don't know, okay, how do we get in front of this? Were there any signs? Was it anything, any indicators that will allow you to prevent something as egregious as this? And then when you think about it, you really don't even know. And the story is so fresh and hot. You really don't have enough information to go off to be even to figure out if there was any indicators or any signs that allow you to be like, you know what, we need to stop, we need to get in front of this, we need to do something. And I just didn't see that, but maybe y'all did. But that's what, like I said, I'm a problem solver. My first thing on my mind is to jump into, okay, where did we drop the ball? Where did we go wrong? How did we allow this to happen? Is it even safe to say that we even allowed it to happen? You get what I'm saying? Because I know some things are just out of your control. Like you just never see it coming. And that's that's the shocker. You would think something like this is something that you can get in front of. How do we move forward and knowing that we cannot get in front of these things if that is the case? That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Ali?
Yeah. Obviously, I referred to this month, and you still have another week and a day or so to go. Bloody April, and it's I mean the events of over the weekend in Shreveport it's like just when you think you've seen the outer edge of depravity, then you see something like that. So obviously horrific. Obviously, such wanton violence has no place in a civilized society. Obviously, our condolences and thoughts go out to those who have been affected. That all goes without saying, I would like to think. Well, one thing that really has vexed me in the aftermath, and I was hoping against hope that this wouldn't happen. Unfortunately, it has. The Black manosphere has now been blamed for these events. The Cut magazine, which is part and parcel of the New Yorker, has gone on record in blaming the manosphere. Lipstick Alley, which is long been a den of gossip website, has blamed the Black manosphere. And there have been other voices who have tagged us, tried to pin the tail on the donkey, so to speak, for all of this. So I was compelled to respond. And first I started on my Patreon. I then took and reposted that over to the Black Manosphere website. I'm going to put the link in the private chat, and I would deeply appreciate it, Jeff, if you and your team could disseminate this so the facts get out. There are very important facts that need to be brought to the forefront on this. And there are things that we can learn from this for everybody. So I'll put that link in the chat room momentarily, and everybody can read it for themselves. Please avail yourself of the resources that I cite there. It's kind of ironic because the Black manosphere has been talking about this for many, many years. I've been doing this now for 11 years. We were talking about this from almost day one. And we were not treated very well by the broader Black general public. And for us to be doing that for so long and now be blamed for the actions that have taken place that we were attempting to warn people about is really some extraordinarily nasty work. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, man, I appreciate all of you so far. And if everybody that's currently watching, if you could, definitely send it to every man you know and every woman you know. We're going to try to cover our basis in the time frame that we can. Of course, we won't make everybody happy with how we cover it. But I've definitely been thinking about this for a long time, both professionally and personally, even as a child. I've been exposed to it. I've known about it. Learned about things as I got older. Took domestic violence course for my graduate program, and one of my very first cases was actually a domestic violence case, believe it or not, fresh out of college, strangely enough. But preparing for this conversation, I realized I think that there's going to be three types of people that's going to watch and engage in this type of conversation. Um, the first type of person or people are going to be those that want us over the course of this entire conversation to focus exclusively on men. Think about men, talk about men, focus on not just the men who did it, but also the men who didn't, what men could have done, what men could have done differently, what's wrong with men, are all men like this? They just want the attention to be just on the men.
Mhm.
There's going to be a group of people who are also going to want us to do the opposite. They're going to want us to deflect. They're going to want us to put the attention primarily not on men, but back on women, and maybe just focus exclusively on the types of women, the types of men that women are choosing, and do some variation or version, I think, of victim blaming. So there's victim blaming, victim shaming, and then I think there's going to be a minority of people that's going to look for us to probably be able to look at both what men are doing and women are doing that's finding themselves in these types of situations. What are preventative measures? What are crisis intervention measures? And what are some warning signs that both sexes can reevaluate and look at in general and in our own individual lives about how potentially things can escalate and get to this point? Um, I saw what Conscious Lee and other commentators jumping on the wave, and I'm going to make sure that I say this as succinctly as I can. I actually wrote it down to make sure I don't mess this up. Being an advocate for men means not downplaying, turning a blind eye, or pretending that this isn't an issue. It is a men's issue. It is a societal issue, and it's absolutely a mental health issue. Instructing men and women about how to proceed and move to be safer is not victim blaming or perpetrator excusing. It is acknowledging that people who are in relationships that typically involves at least two parties. That's all that means. So if you've been, and this is the message to the panderers, the extreme feminists who are now using this as a rallying cry to do the usual thing they do when they want to ostracize or target or blanketly blame all black this or all black men. This is for y'all. Just keeping that out there, just for y'all specifically. If you've been big on only seeing men in general and black men through the worst possible lens, please don't put on your psychology hat and think that you now understand men's mental health and psychology when you show no interest or part in caring about those things and only viewing men as predators. Allow those of us who are actual advocates, those of us who have actually helped save lives, reunify families, help couples navigate domestic violence cases, and help the women and men that have been victims deal with this publicly and privately. Your concerns are not needed or wanted if your motives for this conversation are coming from a place that you believe that all men are guilty, that all men should be avoided, or that society and women don't have the capacity to help or harm a man's mental health, even within a relationship. If you are going to speak on domestic violence, try your best to actually do so in a comprehensive manner, not in a pandering one, in a superficial sixth grade level of assessment of understanding boys and men and abuse within intersexual dynamics. If you view this as a time, an opportunity to warn society to be on guard and scared of men in general, and not specific behaviors and traits in men and women that can result in this, you hate men, you hate women, and you hate the community. If you are pushing for us to be more divided with these situations and stories and not united about tackling and addressing femicide, bidirectional forms of abuse, and disrespect between men and women, blatant and subtle forms of misogyny and misandry, You are treating recognition of humanity as a team sport and not a joint mission. Now is not the time for you to pander. Now is not the time to say divestors deserve to die and that all women can't be trusted and that all men are predators or any other insane thing you can conclude every time somebody dies, and that we just all need to just avoid and stay away from each other. If that's your lane, we would prefer that you remain silent. Please stop talking about mental health if you don't know what you're talking about in regards to how to help address these actual issues. Stop referencing it, stop bringing it up, because you don't know how to diagnose, you don't know what you're looking for, and whenever these stories pop off, all you want to focus on is which side you're going to demonize. You're not actually helping if you want us to only focus on men or only focus on women. This conversation is going to be about relationships, domestic violence, obviously homicide, femicide, and some of the leading causes or potential causes that men and women could be doing knowingly and unknowingly that's contributing to this stuff. So real quick, fellas, I wanted to ask y'all an initial question, man. And for everybody that's currently watching, like we said before, please make sure that you guys follow any of our respective platforms that you're watching this from. Of course, and then obviously send it to just 2 or 3 people, especially to the ladies and to the men that you think may need to know this. So initial question I kind of wanted to throw out to you guys is, why do you think this is happening? Why do you think this is happening?
And when you say, why do we think this is happening, you're referring to the unaliving of significant others?
Yes. And again, this is obviously a issue across the board when it comes to the final results relating to femicide or specifically homicide in terms of men towards women. But it's absolutely insane when it comes to it happening to Black women. So I want to know what you guys think of specifically this is happening.
Well, I'm sorry about that. Hold on. I would say that I can't confirm none of the things I'm about to say right now, but in my opinion, I believe that the perpetrator or the offender may be going through something that he himself cannot deal with. And of course, it's not the same across all offenders. I think the one in Tanzania, that might have been a heat of passion / hey, I'm about to leave you and take all your money / whatever. But the one with it's really hard to paint them all with a paintbrush. But I think these men are just getting so aggravated, so angry and so upset. And there's nothing else they can do. There's nobody they can go to. There's nobody they can talk to. And ironically, you would often see them unalive themselves. Nobody's really talking about that though. They skip over that. That report is buried under some filing cabinet. But when it comes to laying hands on somebody else, that's when it's alarm. So it's like this thing is going through these men's mind all the time. And when they act on themselves, I'm not saying it's totally fine, but it's really not that important to cover as much. But whenever you start impacting other lives, that's when we got to be like, okay, let's diagnose, let's target, let's label, let's categorize. Whenever it was all the same issue. But because we just left all of these things in that filing cabinet, then we never took the time to study, took the time to address, took the time to dissect, took the time to build programs or whatever. And forgive me if I'm wrong. There might indeed be programs out there for men. But as far as commentary, nobody really allowed their platform to compensate for that side of it. And then what happens is it bleed over to the other side where people start inflicting harm on other people. Now you're like, oh, whoa, don't go there. Just stay on the side where you self-inflict. But when you can't control your mind and your decisions and what's going on in yourself and you start to touch other people, that's when we want to commentate on it so we can push it back to the other side. That's just my own thought on it at a glance. Like I said, I can't confirm none of this stuff, but that's just my opinion. That's just what I'm seeing.
I'll say this. I think a lot of times we don't understand in the micro what it means to be a man in this society, because we have to continue to build and provide no matter what we're going through. You know, one of the things that I find interesting as a father of daughters, I don't have any sons. I'm not like Darwin. Darwin has, you know, an army of minions over there, and they're wonderful little boys. But my conversation has to be a little bit different. And what I tell my girls is this: while I go out here to provide the opportunity for you to have whatever righteous opinion you have, let me ask you something. While your mental health should be your top priority, if something happens to your mental health, how does that affect your lifestyle? They told me it doesn't. I said, if something happens to my mental health, how does that affect your lifestyle? Oh, we're screwed. Bingo. But we don't put it that way. I am at almost 50 years of age at a point where I tell young men that I mentor, and I don't know everything, but I know what has worked for me, and I know what I wish I'd had in place before I got to this age. And that's, make sure you got a board of directors, a group of men that you can trust, a group of men that will hold you accountable, a group of men that will check on you just because. You know, because when tragedy strikes, and it will strike, how you handle that normally comes down to the ability to have that release valve. And we don't talk about that. You know, I left my businesses behind for like 6 to 8 months when my brother died, you know, and I had to figure out through therapy and through my board of directors and through my family what that looked like. You know, I was never on the I'm going to go, you know, choke out my family type situation, but there's so much that we don't talk about, and there's no real, I hate to say it, because in a society that's so big on feelings and traumas and triggers, a safe space for men is like saying there is a mouse the size of an elephant at the Elmwood Park Zoo. It just doesn't exist. And when we try to create them, oh, well, you know, men don't need that. Yeah, we do, because we got feelings. We just got to operate differently regardless of how we feel about it. We don't get the luxury of, you know, not still getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning if something goes bump in the night, or if you are, you know, Obsidian, if the sirens are whizzing past your window because you've got outstanding warrants. Like, that's just what's going to happen. I bet you his window is closed tonight, though. That's why we don't hear the sirens.
Yeah.
Very much so. I had to unmute my mic. Yes, I've closed the windows to make sure we didn't have any sirens whizzing by. So yeah.
Yeah, man. But Obsidian, I mean, what are your thoughts about why you think this might be happening?
You know, I've been monitoring the coverage online, and there's been an interest, a great interest, in attempting to kind of peg this on, you know, patriarchy, which we've talked about on this program, and you know, this idea that, you know, black men have these ideas and views from on high to, you know, put upon the ladies. And I've also heard a backlash, and this is interesting, Jeff. I'm also now starting to hear a backlash against the idea that mental health plays any role in this. Now that's interesting. Now that's interesting. By the way, very nice blazer, by the way, Jeff. I approve. That's interesting, because wasn't the argument that before these horrific events took place in April of 2026, wasn't the argument for the past at least 2-3 years that I can recall, wasn't the argument that black men writ large needed to seek more mental health services, counseling, therapy, needed to learn more about emotional intelligence, etc. at all? Wasn't that the argument?
Yep.
So now that we have these admittedly horrific tragedies, no question about it, now mental health plays no role in this? That this is the result of black men aping white hegemonic patriarchy? That's the argument now? I mean, it just the need to, you know, I'll say it this way. You know, as everybody knows here, I have been very, very fortunate to help create what has become known as the Black Manosphere Conclave. And almost from day one, we made it a concerted effort to address Black male mental health issues from day one. We sought out brothers like a Jeff St. James. And let me tell you something. Brothers like Jeff St. James are rare because the field of mental health in its various guises, not only is it female dominant, I mean, we're talking like 80%. Okay, doc, don't take my word for it. Google it yourself. Look it up. And that's not controlling for the color factor. Now, when you bring it to Black American society and brothers like Jeff, they're very few and far between. And of those brothers, because many of them are what we would consider to be, I'm trying to be very diplomatic here, generous, progressive, if not feminist themselves, then feminist aligned, etc. For a brother like Jeff to be Black male interested, Black male aligned, and so that's very rare. We really gone to the ends of the earth to find brothers like Jeff, kosher clinician, Professor Odie, and we're still searching. We're trying to get as many brothers as we can to really get our arms around the idea of Black male mental health. Now, this was going on for years before the events that took place right now. So that's the reason why I'm saying it feels like a slap in the face. And I often say that the most gaslit person in America is the Black man. And this is proof. So for years, we have been told that you need to get therapy, you need to develop emotional intelligence, Black men need to go seek Black male mental health. The Black Manosphere Conclave, on our own initiative, independently funded and operated, ran top down by Black men, seeks out Black men like a Jeff St. James. And now, with these horrific events, now mental health has nothing to do, even though we have evidence of these brothers suffering from severe mental health issues. Shamar Elkins was hospitalized at the Veterans Administration Medical Facility twice. Now that has nothing to do with it. It's all patriarchy. Do you see what I'm talking about here? Mm-hmm. Do you see the gaslighting? And this is routine. This happens on a daily basis in the Black community. Incredible.
And I just want to add one more thing, Jeff. Mm-hmm. This might be unpopular, and I'm gonna try to say this as safe as possible. When it comes to relationships, and we're talking about domestic issues, significant other, men don't have any control, or we can't. There's no consequences. When you disrespect a man, when you hit a man, when you mistreat a man. That's supposed to be the head or supposed to be the leader. He is, in this day and age, he cannot inflict any consequences. He can't inflict any corrections. It's against the law, typically against the law. You know what I'm saying? There's really nothing you can do but shout. So if you look, and I'm not saying that you should be able to hit somebody or you should be able to inflict any harm. I'm saying that I believe there were two different eras. Let me see. I think the brothers at the bottom can vouch because y'all are much older than me. I think there was a time in a day where.
Why you got to add much?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's okay.
Y'all knew, and we don't have to go into detail. There was there was less bickering and arguing and fighting back then. There was this understanding between man and woman that, hey, look, Don't go there. You know what I mean? Now, I think we live in a more soft era, and women can challenge you. They can do whatever, and a man is just vulnerable. He can be in the marriage, locked in the marriage. There's just nothing really he can do. And then you can kind of understand how that might. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not a clinical psychologist. Might be Jeff's department. Most definitely his department. But you probably can kind of connect the dots to see how that could aggravate a man that just, I'm hopeless. There's nothing I can do. Like, this woman will not listen to me. You know, what can I do? I can't leave. Then she's gonna take everything. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna take my kids away. She's gonna take what can I do? So you're pretty much become a slave to your situation, and you end up being a submissive one just so you can just maintain peace and be able to make it from your bed to your man cave without arguing or punching a hole through the wall. So like, as a man who I would say is innately created to be able to maintain control and peace, can't do that. That's gotta be a conflict, a psychological conflict, based off of how we're naturally wired. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like, how you supposed to rewire that in your, like, I'm thinking some of these guys are not able to rewire that so they can bypass that, and it's causing an explosion, so to speak.
Seeing as though I'm much older, I figured I should address this.
Hey, look, no shade, bro.
No, it's fine, young man. That's all right. I think the best way you handle this as a man, right? Because yelling and screaming, because now we're in an age where you can't do anything like you said. You're being verbally abusive, this, that, and the third. So if it were me, hypothetically, the first thing I'm going to do is say, hey, this is what's happening. This is the disrespect I don't tolerate. Happens again, then at that point you have to be strategic. And a lot of us do not react. We do not respond. We react. And see, response comes with planning. And planning looks like getting a family lawyer who's a woman. Also making sure that you have a therapist. Also making sure that you have 6 to 18 months of household expenses in a bank somewhere that's off the books. And then when the disrespect happens, you bounce already with everything in place, including paperwork, terms, so on and so forth. It's not that hard. As a man, if you can't change the people around you, you change the people around you. On top of that, if your leadership is not submitted to, that's automatically disrespect, because you shouldn't, like, if you're going to pay and provide and protect for someone who does not submit to your leadership, but they submit to your wallet, that says a whole lot about your ability to control your situation. And at that point, you also have to evaluate the choices you made, why you made them. Was it that, what did Bell Biv DeVoe say? Never trust a big button and smile. I know you don't know that, but that's an old offshoot of an R&B group from New Edition.
I was around then, bro.
Okay, cool. I just, Michael Jackson's actually black. I don't know if you knew that, because you're young. So you're young, you don't know nothing. But that's what it is. We got to get to a point where the consequence is that if you don't appreciate my presence, you will appreciate my absence. What did David Ruffin say? You're gonna have you ain't gonna find another me. That's what that is. You know what I mean? And I think that that's where we need to go. Period. Point blank. It's not about yelling and screaming. It's not about hitting. It's about, okay, if you don't want to conform, then I am going to pull myself up and my resources, in the fear of losing everything because somebody lost. Have you not Dr. Dre? You ain't Jeff Bezos. And by the way, ain't you a man? Don't you gotta, forgive me, cock and balls? Can't you rebuild? I left and was homeless and was sleeping in sleeping in a truck and washing my nuts in the gas station sink because I'm not going to put up with certain disrespect. But that's me. I'm old. But I digress.
I'm going to show a comment that I think captures what an initial issue is and why it is that I think that this conversation is going to matter both now and going forward. Gentleman, UFO Kamikaze 1 says, if I had no say in the relationship, then I feel no obligation to explain or solve anything that resulted from it. Brutal honesty. Technically, he's right. We didn't know who these people were. The overwhelming majority of us that are talking about it don't have any relationship with them at all. But when we have these types of conversations, because we're going to have people in the chat who's like, oh, you're going to be blaming women, or you're not doing enough to talk about the men. I'm going to reiterate for everybody that's watching right now, if you're not trained to actually help with this, if you don't work and do it for a living, you don't even know why it is that I'm about to say what it is I'm about to say, and how the attitude like this is part of the issue. It isn't necessarily about blame. It is about corporal understanding of looking out for each other in different ways to try to reduce the odds of this happening. I'm going to give now, Darwin, you kind of said like, well, what's the scenarios? Why is this happening? The first thing is anybody who's a therapist or a psychologist or anyone who's a mental health person who's done this type of work or worked in this particular area, there is no one issue. It's obvious. Anything can trigger it. A bad breakup, a divorce, children, loss of possessions, emotional loss, psychological issues, fear, failure, an overall feeling of devaluing of their own life and purpose. Typically, what I've noticed as a major theme. Now, I just got off the call last night with somebody I know personally who was telling me about his self-harming thoughts that he's been struggling with for years. The week before, right after the funeral, a family member was telling me to check in on another person. I've had 5 men on our men's group yesterday for self-improvement. A guy just shared with us and told us that his father passed on Sunday. This past Sunday. There's so many different things that can trigger this stuff. And for people to dismiss it, this is just another, when it comes to Mamiya, what you said about dismissing mental health, that comment I showed is how it starts. When you're not interested and you don't care, you'll ignore the warning signs or never even know how to identify what they are in yourself or in the brother or man that you're working with or doing life with. You'll always find out after the fact, after something happens, because you don't care enough to look beyond your own worldview of what you got going on personally until it happens to you.
There's
just to clarify. I'm gonna give some case. I'm gonna give a very succinct example of what this kind of looks like and how easily it can manifest. All right. So, case conceptualization. I'll throw out one. You know what? I'll use myself first. When I was going through my divorce, in that moment, I started to adopt a mindset that I didn't choose on my own, wasn't conscious. I felt like I was stuck in a mental loop that most men that get to this point where they hurt themselves or other people get to.
Correct. That's one of the biggest risk factors for suicide is divorce.
Yes. And you want to know what that mental loop is that most of these men, and really people who end up doing this, whether it's men or women, but specifically the men that we're talking about, there is this particular mental loop that they get stuck in that they can't unsee. Often until there's someone intervenes or there is some intervention of some kind. That mental loop is a script in their head that says, life sucks. Life can't get any better and it won't ever be able to improve from now.
Correct.
So think of it this way. When you feel like you're about to lose your marriage, access to your children, your home that you spent 20 years or 15 years building equity in, half your resources, potentially having to live out of your car, the respect from your peers, your friends, and God forbid if the divorce isn't amicable, because oftentimes and a lot of times it's not, and they're not looking at it as a means of let's just be fair. We're now looking at each other as adversaries and enemies and going for the jugular. I have had men talk to me and say that if I fought for this, if I fought for custody, if I fought for 50-50, if I did this or did that, she said and threatened me with, I'm going to say you touched the kids.
Wow.
And they'll automatically believe them.
Yeah. She said, I'm gonna claim that you put your hands on me. Even when they were bidirectional when it came to putting their hands on each other.
Correct.
A year, if not a year and a half ago, I had a case that I had pushed off and gave to one of my female therapists at the time. Very smart, brilliant young lady who was trauma trained and everything. And she reached out to me and said, hey, Jeff, this case that you gave me, the black couple, young female, she admitted that she pulled a gun on the guy and put it to his head. Now, question. How do you think he was safely going to be able to leave this relationship?
Wow.
When we get to not just men's psychology and men's behaviors, that can be dangerous, that could be concerning and can lead to these outcomes. People always want to leave out the other half of the part. That there's also another party in the relationship. You have to, if you're not practicing good, you're not doing good clinical practice. If two parties walk in and you're talking to one party the whole time. For those of you who've never developed an action plan for both parties, you don't even know, panderers, Jazz, all y'all that's in these comments and doing all this stuff, you don't even know what you're talking about on how to save people's lives. I'm actually sick of this shit. Y'all still viewing this as a team, picking a team sport shit. You've not saved people's lives. Men were in prison over stuff like this that I had to work with and hear their stories of how they got to this point. You don't care about how they escalated to get to this point. You don't care about what happened to them for them to think that this was fine. You don't care about who was doing what and who initiated what and the things that were said to them that snapped. You don't care about none of that. You just want to own it at men do bad things. When we look at the stats and you start actually correcting things, a lot of times what's actually happening that leads to some of these situations is bi-directional violence. I know it's the thing that ladies want to avoid. They don't want to talk about. They don't want to acknowledge. But bi-directional violence is already a huge thing that Dave kind of hit on. As a starting point, ladies and gentlemen, if you're noticing that the person that's sitting across from you or the person that you're trying to do life with has a lot of warning signs, which we're going to get to and go into for males and females, recognize that the initiator, if they are a female, they can initiate it just as much as far as bidirectional. You know what? I'm going to say it plain, make it simple. Women are not more likely to experience violence in intimate relationships. They're more likely to die because of it.
Correct.
When you don't know that, Jazz, when you don't know what you're doing, when you haven't taken the courses repeatedly, the trainings, and you just want to say man bad, woman good, you don't understand that if this dynamic is the prevalent, this is the standard when it comes to domestic violence between men and women, and oftentimes it's actually female initiated in terms of initiating the physical contact. Ladies, what we're going to watch is a clip. A lot of you keep saying men are predators and men are dangerous, but then when your mouth and your attitude gets going, you forget that. Bloop. You forget that men and women actually aren't equal. If men are as dangerous, volatile, so scary, if men in general, period, are so bad, on what planet do you think you can talk to and put your hands on and destroy property and stalk and throw things at men because he cheated? Because he's looking and talking to another female. What we don't talk about is when we find out more information, when couples are going through divorces, when couples are going through separations, even when domestic violence situations are happening, oftentimes, not always, because there are guys that just go off the handle just because, but more often than not, it's actually an antecedent going on. There's something that happened that triggered to justify why she thought she could move, talk, and act in such a way where she thought she could say what she wants to this man, do what she wants to this man, and because he cheated, because I'm mad, I can throw furniture at him, I can throw dishes at him, I can burn his clothes, I can do this, I can do that. No, you can't. Because sometimes the outcome is this. You females, y'all don't know about those of us that's guys that's been called in families and friend groups that had to be called. And then when we arrived, we found out about all the stuff she was saying and doing before we got there that got it to that point. You call my phone talking about this guy's punching holes in walls. We're telling your ass to leave, but you want to win arguments. We're going to get to the psychology of what men are doing. And I'm going to, and what Dave said and what Ali said, Darwin said, we're going to get to it when it comes to divorce, children, loss of possessions, loss of status, and how that can't be worth your life and the life of the children and the woman you're with. As weird as it sounds. If my wife decided, this is what this actually means from a, I'm telling you guys, this is the frame of mind I have to teach men from a reference point so that they understand what it means not to crash out anymore. That means if your wife wants to leave, if your marriage is going to be over, if she wants to take sole custody of your children, that's still not worth your life.
Correct.
Period. Point blank.
Hard, as crazy as that sounds.
Correct.
She can take and rob you of everything you've built and created, whether for good or bad or revenge reasons. Divorce, children, loss of it all. It's still not worth taking your life, your woman's life, and the life of your children.
Correct.
But the problem is that the psychology is that for men now see a lack of value in their own life, it's not a hard intellectual leap for them to assume the same for the people around them.
Correct.
This is why when we're going through stuff, when they're going through stuff and we do assessments, we do homicidal assessments and we do self-harm assessments. We look at a variety of different things, access to weapons, previous mental health issues, previous diagnoses, if they're currently on any medication, who's all around, who knows, who can they go to, how can we proceed if we're going to do this in a separation route. You don't do or walk through people with any of this stuff, but you got so much smoke about what we need to talk about and how we need to talk about. How about you shut the hell up? So when I say, when it comes to domestic violence and homicide, if you're not talking to both parties about being preventative measures, because what Dave said we're going to get to, ladies have a type that increases their chances for experiencing this. We're going to get to that. Men ignoring things and letting things slide leads to this. I'm going to give you all a quick example. Y'all remember Rihanna's face during that domestic altercation with Chris Brown?
I do.
Sure do.
I do.
How did it start?
She was going through his phone and accusing him of being with the manager, and then she started putting her hands on him, and then
It's not saying that Chris Brown was justified
at all.
What I'm trying to get our ladies to understand is Rihanna could have been dead
Easily.
over
One false
another
move.
female because she saw something in the phone that she didn't like, and she thought she could get physical with him. One of the things we're trying to teach young ladies and women that still are moldable and are still open is that you have to stop thinking that ladies don't understand, and Kevin kind of alluded to this, ladies don't understand the actual perceived power dynamic between men and women. Darwin said men hold so much back. Ladies don't understand that 14-year-old teenage boys can take you out with just their physical hands. They can take, teenage boys can do that. So when y'all act the way y'all do and talk the way y'all do and either don't understand the man in front of you or don't understand men, period. Men that understand, if I say certain things to this guy, he could end up harming me or taking my life. You ladies don't get that. So I'm going to play this clip real quick, and then we're going to jump back into it.
Provoke the hell out of you. This cause you to be thinking horrible thoughts. but you can't respond to that. That's what being a man is. See, let me tell you something, man. We done got to the point, we got a whole bunch of young men out there who really think men and women are equal. You do. You really think men and women, that you believe, you believe the hype. You were raised by women. You saw your mama work like a man. So you treat women just like they're your equal. And women, you played a part in that, haven't you? You played a part, haven't you? You've told men you don't need them. You strong, independent, don't need a man, and you can do it all by yourself. And some of these men believe you. And so now, along with the fact that you've had a lot of men who've been raised by mothers and don't really have a fatherly or masculine role model anywhere in their life or the upbringing to pattern themselves after, because a young boy, he picks different characteristics from different men that he's around as a young boy. That's why you need to have men around. And depending on the men that are around you are going to determine what type of characteristics you have. You come from, if you grew up as a young boy seeing other men who are hardworking and dedicated and patient and kind and tolerant, then you're going to pull some of those different character bricks out of those men, and you're going to build your character with that. That's how that works. So if you don't have any men around, then what's going to happen is you're going to take your character bricks from the women that are around you. That's the next available guess. And I'm not saying that some men, they have mother and father, they pull from each. But like most men pretty much pull, they grow up pulling their character and bricks and their impressions of what manhood is from other men. That's why football coaches, uncles, older cousins, big brothers, teachers, that's not just football, all kind of coaches. That's why these people are important, neighbors. Because young boys pull their character from those men. So if you grow up and you watch your mother resolve issues the way a woman typically resolves issues, that's how you're going to resolve issues. So you basically are a man. You have a man's body, and you have a female coping mechanism. You have a female conflict resolution programming you. So you get emotional and you lash out. And I'm not saying all men raised by single mothers are like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is largely you have a generation, 2-3 generations of young men who have not been taught to control their emotions like a man would. That's what we're looking at right now. And so now when you get a situation with a woman who you think she's equal to me, this is what society says, you treating her like a man. You want to unalive her because you want to beat her. It's
You're muted, Jeff.
Sorry, initial thoughts, gentlemen, on, and shout out to Dennis Sperling for covering this. I heard he covered it either yesterday or today, about this concept that both men and women are thinking that men and women are equal, which I think is contributing to how situations like this are unfolding. Dave, we can start with you.
All right, a few things. Okay. And I need to be very clear about this. I'm not even going to use any comic book references. I'm just going to talk to you about myself. When I was a much younger man, around 23, 24 years old, I was in Eastern North Carolina, and a guy comes into the radio station and he says, "Hey kid, I like that you do this whole radio thing. You ever thought about wrestling?" And I said, "Nah." And he said, "Man, you'd be great, and we can build this up and da 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 da. And Shawn Michaels train me, and I'll train you." When I tell you the reason that they usually, and it depends on the build and it depends on size, have men wrestle women, even if those actions are predetermined, because it's very easy. One false move and you're out of here. To put that another way, when I managed Mark Henry, who was the world's strongest man, not once, not twice, but 4 times, and is still considered one of the greatest strongmen who has ever lived, I noticed how people talked about him. Also notice how people talk to him. When I'm saying this, I need to be clear that men and women have equal rights, but we do not have equal rights and lefts. So you can talk and be as fiery, as much of a spitfire as you want. You can talk about how you bring life into this world. I can snap most of you like a twig, even at 198 pounds. Forget when I was 561. If ever I have to restrain a person, whether that is a male or a female, I'm holding back because I know what it is to see what happens when men
hold on. Whether it's Darwin or Dave or whoever's, somebody, if he's on somebody's feed, this dude, Peter Meat, whatever, when y'all go through your thing when you can and make sure you block and delete him. Go ahead, continue, Dave.
Whether you believe it or not, unless you are a super athlete, and even then, there's a reason why they don't let men in the WNBA. There is a reason why there's a lingerie football league in the USFL and an NFL. There is a reason why you don't have people like Riley Gaines talking about what happened when the man who was like 356th place in swimming became the #1 female swimmer the second he decided he was trans. So let's not make the distinction that, when we say, oh, we're all equal. We're not. Because if we were, most women, respectfully, would be not in office jobs. They would be out painting bridges and digging ditches and doing all the hard, scary, laborious work. And with very few exceptions, in the 19 states I've lived in, the 34 cities I've lived in, there's not a whole lot of bouncers at rowdy ghetto hood clubs, whether you're strip clubs or nightclubs, that are 5'3", 125 pounds soaking wet, who aren't 235 certified. So when we talk about equality, we're not talking about your rights. We're talking about our physical prowess and what we are capable of physically. I don't understand how that's hard for people in the comment section who have two connected brain cells to understand. Well, maybe that's it. Also, if you got that much to say about what we're saying and how we're saying it, and you're not a clinician and you're not a certified youth or family domestic violence mediator like I am, I suggest that you follow my good friend Jeff's instructions and shut your mouth respectfully.
What about you, Mamiya?
I'm inclined to agree. I think that like I said, there seems to be, it's very disturbing to me to want to make this out as some type of institutional or structural problem rather than a severe mental health problem, even though we have documented evidence that this is the case. And it's very, a couple years back there was a case of a Black woman named Shabri Rawls, who was a therapist, and she came to prominence on TikTok because she, in my opinion, as a layman, I mean, she, pretty much violated all kind of ethical canons and the powers that be in the Buckeye State. That's where she was. She was in Cleveland at the time, and working out a facility there. They agreed, and she was swiftly fired. But that really lit the fire under me and my brothers, Shannon and Theo, to really get deadly serious about Black male mental health and getting brothers like yourself and others involved. And I thought that we were making progress, but this situation this month and its aftermath really, it's very disturbing to me that I read a post on Facebook from a sister who is another psychologist who said that this was not mental health, but the result of patriarchy. And that deeply disturbed me. That
Man,
deeply disturbed me.
I'm gonna say this, and let's be consistent. Whenever y'all hear something where people take a individual man doing something bad and they call it the patriarchy, but when women do the exact same thing, she's treated as an individual and it's not systemic. They don't call it the matriarchy. They don't call it a product of feminism. She's just an individual woman that did it. Once you hear that, you know what type of time they on. To be fair, so the game is when an individual woman does something like that, it's reflection of her. But when a man does it, it's a reflection of the patriarchy. So for instance, children are much more at risk in terms of abuse and death at the hands of women. They're the primary caregivers, and I think the elderly as well. It's women that are, their greatest threat is men. So no one would say with all this epidemic of women harming children, that's a reflection of the matriarchy. That's a reflection of feminism. But when a man does it or a black man does it, this is a reflection of the patriarchy. So you already know they're looking at it through a gynocentric, femcentric lens. When a woman does it, I have explanations and excuses. But when a man does it, there's this whole system. So we'll set that foolishness aside. The first thing that I think would be very, very helpful, any man or woman that's watching this or listening to this, I think everybody should take a domestic violence course. Dave did it. I did it. A lot of people are adding and talking about and saying how things should be, and they don't understand the dual nature. You ladies that don't understand why we're even talking about women in this moment don't understand the psychology of the victims that causes them to stay longer than they should. Because if other people do find out, sometimes you don't realize other people have told them to leave. Other people have offered them to stay with them. Other people have tried to intervene. I'm going to give my own personal examples within my own family and friend groups. I'm not, without going into any details as far as specific names. Broken TVs, holes in walls, going to guys' jobs, lying about being pregnant, lying, weaponizing and threatening to call the cops when they weren't at risk. That's just in my family. All women. And the guys in my family on both sides, a lot of bodies have been collected. So when we get called, the expectation is something has to happen. So when we're trying to explain to you that if you understand the bidirectional nature of what's happening in domestic violence disputes, the starting point for men and women beyond going to a domestic violence class is knowing when and how to leave. When and how to leave is a starting point. Because a lot of people don't know this, and it makes sense to me why you're so gone. Just talk about the men. Just talk about the men. If the ladies knew how to leave, knew who to go to help them leave, if every single one of these men, if they had a track record of doing and saying particular things that were putting them and their family at risk, if they knew how to leave earlier, they'd still be here. But you want to say that we can't talk about what women can do different, and that's why they're dead. Dummy. Because you keep thinking that it's just men, it's just a patriarch, and it's not a mental health issue. What do you fix with that? If the goal is to fix relationships and marriages and the community, you can't just tell women to just stay away from men and only talk about men being bad. How does that solve anything, idiot? So the starting point is we have to figure out how to help people understand what are the emotional, physical, and social cues of warning signs of a person that has the propensity to cross certain lines to the point of no return. Because a lot of the people that trigger some of these things may not do it physically. What Darwin said, there's men that sit there for years and take things, and instead of leaving
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with the consequences that comes with that, they try to endure, or I'm just going to stay stoic. I'm just going to endure. I'm just going to accept that she never takes accountability and it's always my fault until you snap, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
So the manosphere is about teaching men about making wiser decisions about the type of women that you even engage with sexually, romantically, and especially with having children in marriage. That's the whole point of the manosphere. Is trying to tell men, if you're with a woman that's bringing out a certain side out of you, option A is to go to therapy and figure out what is it that's being triggered in you from your past situations that's now manifesting with her. And B, if you realize maybe it's not as much you as it is she's not in a healthy space to be in a relationship with, you don't proceed past go. This is why when we talk about respect, ladies don't understand respect until they're dead. They still don't get it. They still don't get it. This is why they think that they can keep. If you ladies understood all the videos of everything that we're talking about, you wouldn't even argue with men in public
At all.
let alone private. But you don't get it. Gentlemen, if a woman won't listen to you, she's not for you.
Correct.
If a woman equates your instruction with being controlling and abusive just because you don't want her doing all these girl nights out and you don't want her wearing all this provocative clothing, she's going to interpret your restrictions and your boundaries as controlling and abusive. And you're going to interpret it as she doesn't respect you or doesn't like you or love you. What do you think is bound to happen if those two parties don't change their mentality but still stay in the same roof?
Correct.
A man living with a woman that doesn't respect him, and a woman living with a man she doesn't respect and doesn't think she needs to listen to. What could potentially go wrong?
Everything.
This is why when you don't know what the warning signs are, when you don't understand when to leave, when to give pushback, when to communicate in a healthy manner, you'll get so lost in this list of stuff until it's too late. Imagine experiencing one or two of these things and then drawing the line in the sand and telling your wife or significant other. I'm going to give myself as a personal example so people can get what I mean. Dave mentioned it. I mentioned it before. We've been in previous relationships where women got physical. Women got handsy, right? I've dealt with women previously who's made up things about me to make themselves look better about why I wasn't sticking around with them. Okay? So when I got into this new relationship, I had an internal rule that I made very clear with her. If it ever gets physical, I'm done. If you ever curse at me, I'm out. If you call me out my name, it's over. That's going to prevent a whole lot of stuff from us ever getting to the point of me feeling like I'm ready to take her life and she's going to take mine.
Right.
I mean,
and guess what? The rules are the same for me. So that I know for me, with my background, with trauma, with violence, with people who try to take advantage of me or threaten my life or whatever, and the amount of times I've seen dead bodies and the things that can trigger with me, I know my boundary is I will not be in a home or relationship with somebody that doesn't respect me, doesn't love me, calls me out my name, lies about me. All those things are no-goes for me. The point of no return. At that point, I already have an action plan in mind of how I'm going to proceed, and we will never be in the same home or facility or room alone together again. Ever. Ever. That means if we have to do pickup drop-offs, it's in public locations.
That's it.
But see, when you don't know that and you just want to say, oh, just talk about men, talk about men. No, you have to talk about the relationship dynamic, dummies. So all you panderers that don't know what you're talking about, this is what I mean. The men that struggle with this, they can't compartmentalize the different areas in their life. They see everything as bad and to the point of no return. The first thing you want to do with cognitive behavioral therapy is try to target their thoughts.
That part.
Bro, how about this? it seems like you can't identify anything positive in your life right now.
Mm.
For the
Mhm.
next week, your homework assignment's going to be you have to identify 3 to 5 things every day that you're grateful for, and you have to spend a significant amount of time cutting off all forms of distraction that leads towards being in a negative space and point. And number 3, you have to force yourself to do something social with other people versus staying in your room for 12 to 18 hours a day.
Mhm.
I've reduced the chances of him isolating and being stuck in those negative thoughts. I've
Mhm.
increased his chances to at least start to balance having a good perspective of both good and bad things happening in my life. And
Right.
I'm getting him moving.
Yeah.
You don't know, like, case in point, financial control on the screen.
Mhm.
If we get to a point where me and her are arguing so much about finances, I'm not going to get to a point where I have to feel like I have to now limit her access to the finances and I got to do all this stuff. We can't do life together anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
If it's jealousy and possession, if it's starting to come out of me or come out of her, and once that's been expressed, when we reevaluate if it's coming from a good place and it's legit, if I'm still maintaining and holding on to these feelings and they're not going to go away, I cannot stay in a relationship with a woman that I constantly feel is cheating on me, or I constantly feel when I'm telling her things that's giving the impression that this is creating these emotions in me, she doesn't care. And vice versa, ladies. When you're staying in relationships with men, if you knew the amount of times that ladies end up dead or hurt because they were jealous or they were going off about a guy doing something with other women versus being like, this isn't meant for me anymore. I got to be out. I'm going to say a shocking thing that I'm now starting to recommend to couples and individuals going forward. I actually don't want people, when they finally made the decision, I am done with this relationship and this marriage. I know, especially marriage, I no longer want you to tell the significant other one-on-one in person. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. There's a whole host of ways in how that can be communicated, how other people can be a part of it, and even down to when I am done with this relationship. I'm not going to sit in a home in a room alone with a woman, any woman on the planet, and tell her I am done with this marriage and I'm done with this relationship and I'm done with you. I will never do that one-on-one alone ever. Because you don't know what she's going to say, you don't know how she's going to react, and you don't know how you're going to react and respond when she crosses lines and does things that you didn't anticipate. So when you go in a room or go in a home and you got your mama and a police officer and somebody else in there, and furniture and stuff's getting packed up, your clothes and possessions is getting packed up, you've already set up your situation, it reduces the chance of something like this happening. But when you don't have a plan and you don't know this stuff, whether it's because of cheating, because of accusations, because of safety or whatever, a lot of these ladies end up, when you find out money and cheating is often a huge contributing factor that we end up finding out after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
If you've decided, ma'am, you're done, you no longer have to do the whole, well, I'm just going to hang out with him again and do one-on-one and we're going to argue back and forth about why he doesn't want me to leave. What's the point? But see, you don't think that through. You don't know that. So when you don't understand that men and women can do these things, this is the problem when the result is men can finish it. Gentlemen, get back in here. I apologize. Go ahead, fellas.
No. You were kicking it, and I was taking notes. This is definitely something that we need to do at the conclave. You and Dave, because I just realized listening to you and Dave talk about the courses that you actually took on domestic violence, and particularly how it plays itself out in the Black community. That's something the conclave need. All the brothers in the conclave need that course. And Jeff, you need to lead it. We all, and you, Dave, back him up on it because because of your experience. All the brothers need to be taught about this. All of us, the whole ranks need to be taught about this. We can get our arms around this, understanding the bidirectional nature of it. See, we try to get Dr. Tommy Curry to join us. He's done excellent research in this regard. We recently spoke to him about this. We try to, and I saw him on Facebook. He too was very appalled by what's going on here. And he said, listen, you try to bring some sanity to the whole thing. That right there, definitely is something the brothers at the conclave need to
Mhm.
be thoroughly
Mhm.
grounded in, thoroughly. And like you
Yeah.
said, the action plan, how to, certain this is something else too. And I'm glad you hit on it, Jeff.
Mhm.
Boundary, I'm looking right in the camera. Black man, boundaries are for you too. There's this idea, nobody says it. It's not explicit, but there's an idea that goes something like this. Boundaries are something that's for black women. Like nobody really talks about black men having boundaries. What you established, Jeff, were clear boundaries. Listen, I am not going to be under the same roof with a woman that doesn't respect me. I'm not going to be under the same roof with a woman that throws objects at me. I'm not going to be in the same roof with a woman that does not want to abide by the rules of this house, etc., etc., etc.
And
You
crazy,
rarely hear black men say that.
Obsidian. The crazy part is, and remember what I said, my wife has the same expectations for me.
Correct. Right.
So I would expect that if I get too crazy, if I get too buck, I'm going to lose my marriage and potentially access to my kids. I should expect that.
Correct.
So now it kind of keeps us at a guardrail from even getting to certain points.
Right.
You took the words out of my mouth. Guardrails all day. I mean, we took the same course. Listen.
My bad. Continue, Obsidian. My bad.
No. I'm both of you are 100% correct. And again, we're very similar because my thinking is the behaviors that we're talking about that have occurred this month have no place in a civilized society. I consider myself a civilized black man, and therefore I am not going to act in an uncivil manner toward my lady friend. We are going to be reasonable. We're going to discuss things in a reasonable manner. We can disagree. Good people can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. There'll be no violence, no shouting, no cursing, none of that. I've been with my lady 17 years. If it ever occurred to me, I'm at the point where I'm even thinking about doing something to her, it's over. We're done. Done. We're done. If it even occurs to me to do that, it's over. I'm done with it. I'm done. We're out. I'm done. Because you should never get to a place where you're even thinking about doing something to somebody. That's a serious red flag. Just the thought of it. I'm gonna pick up my cane and bust upside the head. No, we're done. No, not doing that.
Darren, what about you, brother?
Yeah, on this boundaries, sound like we're talking about boundaries and walking away. And I understand everything everybody said. I agree with it. Only thing I find a challenge is when you're within the confines of a marriage. We'd be remiss if we don't shed light on the fact that it's a degree of difficulty you got to go through whenever you're married.
It's hard.
Having those detailed, hard lines that if somebody crossed, then you're just gone. Like you just up and leaving. And you would have to be in a marriage to be able to understand that you just can't up and leave. You just can't break up the family like that. You got to go through steps. You might even have to mitigate the issue as much as you can by going to counseling or getting therapy before you just break it off. But I would say if you do,
of course, that's the extreme final product for sure.
I mean, I agree
with you. I agree with you.
I think that type of thinking, it should be activated, but it's not conducive in a marriage. And for those, I think that would work perfectly well with guys like the free agent lifestyle, Coach Greg Adams, that was just out here. Guys who don't really want to use the system for their relationships. That's absolutely perfect to be able to just say, hey, look, if you ever call me out of my name, you ever put your hands on me, it's over.
But Darwin,
you can just up and leave. You can pack it up.
I'll give you a little pushback.
Okay.
If you establish it early, if you do it before you get married,
correct,
you're less likely to deal with it in your marriage. And then you're right. If she has a general track record and pattern of not doing it because I've been enforcing it from the beginning, earlier when we were dating, talking, getting to know each other. And I'm very serious about when you start getting teeter and getting close to what territory that I know is going to cost us a relationship. And I'm giving warnings and signs. If and when the rare moment she does do something like that, you, like you said, most people won't do what I'm capable of doing. But the point, it still stands.
Mhm.
My argument is when people even have it in their mind that what certain things you're doing that I know can cost my sanity, cost my freedom, or cost my life or yours. But we're married. Y'all got to get that out your head, gentlemen.
Please talk to him.
You have to get out your. What I'm basically saying is the reason why guys snap like this is because they put an overemphasis on the fact that they're married, an overemphasis on how much time and money and resources they've invested, and an overemphasis on the fact that they have children together, that they have a lopsided view where they don't put enough focus on, is this sustainable, healthy, and is this going to cost me or her our lives? So what you said, I agree with. Each man gets to decide what that looks like. Some guys are one and done. Some guys is once or twice and it's a wrap. But I agree with you, if you're even open to the possibility, therapy, potentially somebody having to stay with somebody else, the attention and addressing it as soon as possible with a very severe warning or consequence. When you don't do it because I'm married, when you don't do it because we got kids, these are the types of things that ends up happening, brother. So
Look,
I'm trying to tell guys, like, no, you don't have to snap your finger and you cursed at me, it's over. But what I'm saying is, I've now learned for me that a woman who's capable of doing that, if she's willing to curse at me, she's willing to lie on me. If she's willing to lie on me, she's willing to disparage my name and character. If she's willing to do this, if she's willing to disrespect me to my face, what won't she do behind my back? So for me, that's a Jeff rule. But I've had couples where lines were crossed, things were said, disrespect was had. And we have to see, is this a one-off or is this a repeated pattern that's going to keep coming back?
Right.
But I agree with you, Darwin. Yeah, it is more complicated. There are more costs. There are more consequences. My argument is whether you leave or go on a break or separate, you have to be ready to do that. If they start getting to a point where once it happens, you make it known, hey, I told you about this. We've talked about this. Now, I said I'm going to leave. I might leave, I might not. But now this is the only warning you're ever going to get. It happens.
Listen,
brother. Go ahead.
I get it, and I understand pushback. Totally get it. You know, forewarning them decrease the likelihood. I get it. Once you start dealing with these women, you start getting a number of consultations, and I think you do that with your therapy. You'll notice that at an alarming rate, you can actually, in this culture with these women that we're dealing with, and nobody is absolved from it. No matter how much money you make, your status, nobody is absolved from it. You can tell a woman that, hey, look, don't do this, don't do that. You can coach her up to your boundaries, your restrictions, your pet peeves, the things that you don't want to tolerate. And I'm telling you, brother, once you get married, it's like I don't know, it's like a scythe come through. It's like through a woman's mind. Like once she passed that line with you, it's almost like she knows she can cross that line because you're on the hook. And she's got a number of things that are attached to you that she can rip away from you. So the likelihood of her feeling comfortable doing it whenever when she passed that goal of getting that ring and getting the state involved, is almost inevitable that it's going to happen. Now you're totally right about how do you want to deal with it. You got to be willing to walk away. And just realistic. A lot of guys are just not. It's really, really difficult to do that, to just be able to have that stern, and I'm out. You know what I'm saying? With everything on the line. And I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't just because it's difficult. I still think they should. But we do got to acknowledge that it's extremely difficult at that point, and that women are that cunning to perform like, hey, look, I know not to do that with you. I know not to say that to you. Once they get past that goal in marriage, bro, it's like night and day. The contrast is so big.
Remember what I said, fellas? If y'all go through and see who this guy is, can you actually block him and remove him from the
Whose
thing?
channel is you?
Peter, I don't know whose. It's not mine. He's somebody.
Well, you know it ain't mine. My shit ain't even.
Yeah,
Either
we
on
gonna
somebody else's YouTube or Facebook. Peter,
I don't see this person, so I'm looking.
Yeah,
Let me set that
somewhere
out.
in there. 918. It looks like it's when he last commented.
Okay,
Yeah, and the second question I'm going to throw out there, that I think is going to be very, very helpful in terms of men, in terms of accountability, is a question that men need to ask themselves, and ladies can reflect on as well. But as men, I'm going to ask you guys a straightforward question: are you, as a man, actually built to be around women intimately and especially in an actual relationship? What I mean by that, men love the perks that comes with being in a relationship with women, but especially in a relationship standpoint, the positive aspects. But a lot of men want to still do and deal with all the extracurricular stuff on the side that can result in seeing that other side and bringing that other side out of her. So are you actually built to be in a relationship with one woman or two, depending on how you work it, to where you're not going to live a life that keeps resulting in them feeling like they're being cheated on, manipulated, and causing a lot of drama and potential tension and potential altercations? Is that actually the life you want to sign up for? There's men that are signing up to be husbands and boyfriends and agreeing to be in monogamous situations, but they can't maintain the expectations of what it takes for her mental stability and his. Is that actually are you actually built to be a man that's not going to bring out the worst version out of her? Or do you just want access to sex and a woman to cook for you every now and then? Because that's not a relationship. Fellas want those two parts, but they still want to be able to do things that causes the Rihannas to react the way they did, that causes the Cardi B's to react the way they did. Fellas, when I'm basically saying this, sometimes the crazy behavior and reaction is a reaction to something you did.
Right.
And what you doing? A lot of y'all ending up dead or in jail or taking the life of another woman because you don't have the self-control and intelligence and maturity to recognize monogamy isn't for me. Marriage isn't for me. Being a parent isn't for me.
Correct.
Do you are you actually built up enough to recognize I actually have the capacity to do my part in this? Or am I going to constantly put her in positions to where she could start threatening me? She could start stalking me. She does no longer trust me, especially if it's a repeated pattern. Fellas, guys are ending up in this situation because they're lying to themselves. You're lying to yourself. You're not meant for monogamy. You're not meant for marriage. You're not meant for one woman. Be a free agent. And again, there's pros and cons and risks that comes with that. But a lot of these situations, everything I think we showed on the screen was boyfriends and husbands.
Yeah.
A lot of these men were never meant to be boyfriends or husbands. What y'all think about that?
I think it's an excellent insight, and it's something that I've been saying for the longest time. The Black community, and this is a community discussion, as much as there are voices that want to try to just put this off on just Black men solely, it is a community discussion. You know, one of the great things that Black women have successfully done in the late 20th coming into the 21st century is they've redefined what it means to be a Black woman. It used to be largely confined to mother, you know, you could say daughter, but mother and wife, right? Or wife and mother. And then they added on baby mama. But in the era of Oprah, it has changed. Now Black women can be career women, business women. They can pursue other interests alongside or completely instead of wife, mother, daughter, or baby mama. If their life path does not include wife or mother or baby mama, that's completely okay. They can pursue another path, like Oprah, for example. Black men have not had that same option. If you listen to a lot of black men, a tremendous amount of their identity is wrapped up in husband, father, baby daddy. A tremendous part of their, and I don't think that this is just something that's I think that's part of it. I think there's an interplay between the internal and the external, between the individual and the culture. I think it is a cultural thing. Black men are very pressured to be a husband, a dad, or a baby daddy. And I've rejected all three. I think part of the reason why, statement. I think part of the reason why I'm a lightning rod for some people is because I've rejected all three. I think that there are other important things that I can do with my life that do not require me to be a husband, a father, or baby daddy. And I think that that's something that's very dispiriting to a lot of black people. That somehow, if you don't center those things, I think I'll tell you what it is. I think what it gets at is, for someone like myself, I think it's the fact that I don't center. I'm just going to be brutally frank about this. I don't center black women in my life. You know, when we had on Coach Greg Adams, he said something that really jumped out at me. He said that a lot of black men don't do nice things for themselves. They do nice things for other people, typically women, but in any event, they won't do nice things for themselves. And he even went on to say how a lot of brothers will, get dressed to the nines and so on and so forth when they're going out on a really great date to have something to eat with a woman, but then they'll go and eat Taco Bell by themselves. That really jumped out at me because I remember the very first Black Manosphere Conclave in 2021. And it was special to me because it happened on my birthday weekend. So I'm like indelibly linked together with the conclave. And we were at the Westin Buckhead in Atlanta. And on the ground floor, they had the bar. Actually, they had the Palm restaurant. And the bar was there. And I ate dinner there by myself, suited, booted. And that felt fucking fantastic, man. It felt fucking fantastic. Actually, it reminded me of like a mafia don. I was sitting, in a darkened corner off to myself being attended to by several people. And but it was fantastic, man. It felt great. Now I was joined by my lady the next day. She flew in. I had her flown in. But just being by myself doing that felt fucking great, man. That resonated with me, what Coach Greg Adams said. That really hit me right here because I know exactly what he was talking about. And I don't think a lot of brothers really have a conception of life outside of husband, father, baby daddy. And what these events this month really highlights to me is that you need to have a conception, even if you do decide to take a wife, have children, be a dad, even if you do, you still have to have a conception of your life outside of that. Very few Black men seem to have a conception of life outside of that. I do, as a matter of course, because I've never been married, don't have kids. So I do have a lady friend, but we decided very early on, marriage wasn't in the cards. And that's something else that in my own experience, and I like to impart to other brothers, fellas, look in the camera. You need to get these things out of the way quickly. You need to find out once you and the lady in question have decided that y'all like to bump bellies together, y'all attractive, you're attractive to each other. Great. Let's put that on one side. All right, so let's talk about, since we're talking about bumping bellies, let's talk about sex. Do we have the same desires? Do we have the same expectations? Let's talk about money. What are our attitudes about money? People, a lot of black people gets kind of, no, you need to talk about that up front. What are our attitudes about money? What are our expectations about money? If we're going to be talking about children, okay. What are our expectations in terms of parenting with children? What are our desires? If politics, fine, because a lot of black women, that's very important to them. Fine, like right off the rip, listen. I vote for Trump. I'm a Republican, so if that's a problem with you, we can end this right here. I think far too many black men are not direct and doing it early and fail faster. Brothers, you need to learn how to fail faster. Too many brothers want to hold on to sisters instead of just getting them out of the way. Create space. That's something. Nature abhors a vacuum. You cannot, have two things occupying the same space at the same time. If that sister ain't for you, get her out of the way. Make space so that another sister can come in. And you need to be getting things out of the way quickly. Quickly. What are your attitudes about whatever that is? You want to be married? Great. Okay. What are your attitudes about marriage? What are your attitudes about doing the laundry? What are your attitudes about doing the dishes? What are your attitudes about running the sweeper? All of that. You got to get those. You got to have the same desires, same expectations, same goals. All of those things have to be clearly mapped out early. I'm talking like within the first 3 dates. All of that has to be mapped out. And if there's just too much variance there, let her go, step aside, create space to bring in another one.
What about you, Darn?
So, if I can remember, your initial question was, are we that type of man, that can create a safe space or be effective?
Are we actually built for relationships and marriage?
Are we built for it?
Yeah, we've been built for it. And I think
I'm obviously built for it. I got 10 years on my belt.
Nice.
Marriage. I'm built for it, most definitely, but I got to tell you, I wasn't always built for it. And it wasn't that I wasn't capable of it. I was very capable of it. It was just that I was going through a time in my life where I was, I was an athlete, 6'4". It was just really hard to break away from the abundance of, women wanted to allow me to get those, those back shots. So, that was tough. all I'm saying
man
is,
cannot live by bread alone. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying, because once you come up in a society where a growing number of women, because let me just be frank, I was on a Pookie path. And if you ever been a Pookie or whatever, so to speak, then you would know that a lot of women go for those guys, especially our women. Like those guys are like hot on the market because a lot of women are married and they're committed to their careers and their degrees and that. And whenever it's time for them to go for a man to get bust down or get a baby, they go to a man that's not going to really like tell them what they can and can't do with their life. They still want to maintain their independence and still deal with a man at the same time. So they can't go after the guy I am right now. They would have to go after a beta or a Pookie, because those guys are not going to tell them what to do. They're going to let them do whatever the hell they want to do. So long as you can give me that D when I need it. So I was offering that D. So it's once you get into that pattern and that path, it's really hard to break away from that. You would have to really like connect with some people on a spiritual level to tell you that, hey, look, this is the wrong way to go. What do you want in life? You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, I want a family. I want kids just like you got. Well, you can't do that no more. You gotta discipline yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got a lovely woman that's pursuing you. She want marriage. Won't you go ahead and set your mind straight, set your mind on that so you can have these things. This is a beautiful thing. So I broke away from that. So all I'm saying is I wasn't always capable or built for it. You know what I'm saying? I was stuck on a desire that was not conducive for the things I wanted in the future. And I had to figure out how to break away from that. And I was able to do that because I had another brother beside me, pulling me away, like, hey, look, don't, this is how you do it. Well, damn, man.
Nice.
You ever get the craving to go back? Yeah, you do, but you get used to it.
Mhm.
You read up on your scriptures, you stay disciplined, and you surround yourself around guys who got similar paths, so you don't stray away.
There you
That's
go.
another thing. Stop hanging around the guys that's going to pull you back into that atmosphere, because if you do, and then there's alcohol involved, the
Mhm.
likelihood of you being able to fall back or backslide, what do they call it, spiritual, it increases. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but the likelihood goes up. So you don't want to give it no chance at all. So just stay away from it. So I got a lot of friends, homies are still out there going back and forth to Colombia, Dubai, whatever, DR. Man, you sure you don't want to come? No, every year. No, not coming, bro. So I'm most definitely built for it.
Yeah. And Dave, before you do, I want to get through some of these super chats. And real quick, this guy said, Kwan 2443, this is a must needed conversation. So everybody that's currently still watching this, both the haters and haters just gonna watch, but everybody that actually thinks this is an actually helpful, good conversation that men and women need to hear. All that we ask is that you like this and that you send it to at least 2 or even 3 people. Thank you, Kwan, for that. As far as some of the super chats that I've seen so far, Shogun Swarthy, thank you for the $5. The scapegoat is an individual or group unfairly blamed for others' misfortunes, mistakes, or sins. The black man is the scapegoat in this. I think 2 things could be true. I think that we do have a problem. Our women are most at risk. Overwhelmingly, it is black men doing it. So that's a problem. Like, we can't sit here and be like, well, it's just one individual. Yeah, it is one individual, man. But my argument, and what I think what Darwin is saying is, we have to become more intentional about being on the lookout for the warning signs, recognizing even in our own relationships what we could potentially be susceptible to, and start making adjustments and pushing and pulling each other in directions, if we can, if we have relationships, to try to reduce the odds of this type of stuff happening. The moment you find out so-and-so is going through a divorce, reach out to that brother and find out and see where his state of mind is. A lot of people are like, let me just give him space. Let me just let him handle this stuff. You have no idea what's probably hit that man, especially if he's never gone through it before. I ended up on a bridge. Other people in Willingboro, New Jersey, who went to the same schools and areas that I grew up in, same scenario as Louisiana. Except the 2 little boys lived, and he took out himself and his girlfriend, the mother of his kids, in Willingboro, New Jersey. Miss Couture, thank you for gifting us some memberships. Appreciate you. My uncle is kung fu for young black men. As far as the Korean War, his mission is to help inner city black boys control their extrinsic situation with balance. Praise God, he is my uncle. Thank you, madam. Sylvia Love Jones, $5. Mental health is one thing, management of emotions is another. Yes, Sylvia, and they're related. And I appreciate you for that. And Captain Caveman, my guy, amen. When my father passed, instead of sympathy, my daughter's mother went on attack using the system. If it wasn't for my cousin having his ear, Lord knows what I would have done. Mental abuse is in men is real, and ignore it. Shake my head. Appreciate you, brother, for the 20. Shogun again. I'm over it. There are individuals who want black men to cease from existing. The social misandrous norms have become unreasonable. Yeah, man, we definitely talked about the divestors in last week or whatever, and it's unfortunate, along with the white supremacist mindset. But this mindset that we're talking about tonight is one where these men think and feel as though they and the women that's in front of them no longer gets to exist as well. So it's also a shocking and unfortunate problem for sure. Floyd Drivers, thank you for the $9.99. Facts, Dave, preach. Ms. Couture again, sometimes we don't know who we really are until we get into a long-term relationship, and that is where we learn the most about ourselves. Thank you, True, for the $9.99. From my understanding, a lot of us men and women tend to stay in toxic relationships stems from households or toxicity from relatives. Correct me if I'm wrong. We definitely learn bad patterns. A lot of people do a big thing, especially in the black communities. Well, you know, that's your mother at the end of the day. You know, that's family at the end of the day. And they're kind of training you to stay in environments and accept behavior that you otherwise probably wouldn't and shouldn't if you were more if you were at a healthier point. Eric Alexander, thank you for the $19.99. There are men who have taken their own lives rather than take out negative emotions on others after failed relationships and marriages. An example that comes to mind is Jason David Frank, aka Green Ranger. Yeah, he definitely recently passed. And then last but not least, Cape and Caveman, again, $10. It's funny they created a show for women called Snapped, making logical excuses to why they were violent and blamed the men. Only show men get is the news and being called monsters. No excuses, SMH. Yeah, man. I think we're all used to the reality that, like what Obsidian said, man, in terms of there's just going to be a different reaction and response when men do it. Get used to it. We're not equal. It's not even. It's never ever going to be. But what's important for the people who actually care about relationships and actually care about men to figure out strategies, techniques, alternatives, and avenues of how these men, whether it's ourselves or others, can connect with each other and get help and resources together. Dave, I wanted to kind of run this by you, and then of course with the other fellows as well.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, it's not just that men need to be better with their screening and what they're reacting to and what they're accepting and removing themselves from situations. Relationship involves two parties. And you mentioned that you said that women need to actually reevaluate the type of men that they keep labeling as boring that they're ignoring.
Of course. Let's keep it honest.
Okay.
Let's be 100% honest, because I hate having disingenuous conversations with the intellect that is on this panel. We know the patterns. We don't like to talk about the patterns because when we do, then we get accused of being misogynist or dodging accountability or not understanding how it goes. Joseph Warren Walker of the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Nashville, Tennessee, famously said when I was in my mid-20s, men's first reaction is physical. A woman's first reaction is financial.
Ooh, I was about to say verbal, but I hear you.
So if I know for a fact, and I'm going to speak for myself the same way Obsidian spoke for himself, the same way you spoke for yourself, everybody spoke for himself, including Darwin, which, you know, for a young man with such little experience, he did a great job. Good job, Darwin. Excellent. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that women have been, I don't want to use the word, conditioned to be hypergamous. And hypergamy switches from physical hypergamy to financial hypergamy. And it is not until they have had their lower extremities Afghanistan, and what I mean is bombed out and depleted with a horrible pullout like Joe Biden did with Afghanistan, that they start the draft for stepdaddy season. Thus, Mike Jones said, back then, hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot, they all on me. Having said that, what we don't talk about is the fact that you said that you wanted Pookie. You said you wanted Lamondre to take you through there. You said Sharavius couldn't do no wrong as long as he was clapping them cheeks and putting your legs to the moon. You said that.
Oh, Dave, don't they say I need a man to put me in my place? I need a man to yoke me up every now and then.
Right, because that's what you say that you want. I will go as far as to say, when you get sick of all of that because you done turned the cheek and both eyes got blacked, now you want to go to safety. Now you want a safe space. Now you want someone to handle everything up to and including the raggedy children that you decided to have with this raggedy man. And that's not saying that the children are raggedy, but the circumstances regarding their birth are raggedy. And you will now hold the man who comes in to the standard that you didn't hold the man who came in. So with that, and I'm not going to take up much more of your time, I want to address the fact that unless you're a grape victim or an SA victim, you did say yes. You went country crock. You shed your clothes, you spread your legs, and you decided to make it clap like Busta Rhymes and Sean Paul on the remix. So when you decide that now you want something different or better, now you want to come with a myriad of all of these expectations. And those of us who put ourselves in a position to be good, be upstanding, to not be out here impregnating the world. And when I say that, before I got married, I didn't have any children, including the ones the vacuum doctor sucked out of a woman. It never happened. That doesn't mean that I'm better. That means that I made a certain level of choice when it came to my sexual discipline. Now, having said all of that, because I have to address this, Jeff, because if I don't, I would be remiss. When it comes to marriage, and again, Darwin is very lucky, because in Darwin's world, everything's a utopia. I'm being facetious, but seriously though, what we need to have the conversation about is you're not just marrying the woman as a man. Let me tell you the things that these men are too nice to say. You ain't marrying a woman, you're marrying her family. You're marrying her trauma. You're marrying every single suspicious piece of peen she got before you, and the expectations thereof that's put on you. You are also marrying her traumas. You're marrying what her daddy did to her mama or did not do to her mama. You're marrying the way that her mama told her how she came up. You're also marrying the dirty, disgusting, grandpa who was a Rolling Stone. You are marrying a Disney-fied version of reality. And then once you get past all of that through counseling, trial and error, all that good stuff, then you have to deal with the fact that 7 years in, the person you were when you said I do is not the person you are now. And the person she was when she said I do is not the person she is now. Can you be married to that person? Because you got to get to know that person. And every day that person changes. I will give you a real world example and then I will land my plane. When I met my wife, I was 17 years old. I was on TV. I was on the radio, young, brash, and cocky. Somebody stopped me. I was having a great time in college because I was 17 years old. We got married in our 30s. I'd, lived the life, like, all that kind of good stuff. What I'm saying is, even with that, you have to be willing to understand that there is growth and sometimes there is shrinkage. My wife married a 561-pound dude. That guy's dead. I was a radio executive. I'm not a radio executive. I'm working on I finished my 24th book. Like, there are a lot of changes that happened to me and happened through me that she has had to adjust, and vice versa. Can you still be married through all of that? And sometimes, not for me, but sometimes, if you're being honest, and a lot of you, both male and female, will not be honest, the answer is no. And you're staying in it for the kids. You're staying in it because you saw your parents fail. You're staying in it because you don't want the criticism of your sister circle. You don't want the appearance of how the public will view you. You're more concerned about your social media timeline than the timeline that you're on, and the trajectory that you're on that could end you up in jail. Now that I've gotten all that off the table, we still have 8 children to deal with who got unalived, unfortunately, by some knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing miscreant who needs to be drug out to the street and pumed, in my personal opinion. And I don't want that to slip. But the thing my grandfather would say that a lot of men and women do not want to hear is that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you stop doing hot girl summers at 43, if you stop going on the girls trip, and if you stop trying to meet Prince Charming in the back of McMahon's shaky butts, maybe, just maybe, you might have a chance of surviving all of those things that I listed that you're going to get married to if you choose to go to the chapel and get married. But I digress.
Appreciate you, brother. Philosophical. He actually posted something today that I wanted to.
This ain't funny. This ain't no aha, that's what you get moment. No, this is horrible. I would hate for this to be my sister, my daughter, anybody, but sister, girl. Why the fuck do y'all keep giving your womb to men with lengthy criminal history? I know these kind of guys. They're not even witty. They're not even smooth. They're not even that cool. They just got tattoos. They listen to a lot of drill music, and they're aggressive and emotional. Why is that turning you on so much? Y'all are turned on by idiots, and then when real smooth and suave niggas come, you think they weird. This is crazy. Y'all turn around and say protect all black women, protect yourselves, protect each other. You say protect black women, but then, oh, she can wear what she want to wear. That's not protecting them. Enabling them to do this type of stuff, it's not protecting them. Protect yourself, cover up your body, and stop giving yourself to men with lengthy criminal history. Now she's not even here.
Because he's exciting. They want adventure. Look at what they watch. You think I'm lying? The number, listen, say whatever you want, and this is no diss to anybody making their money however they make their money. The number one subscriber demographic for Zeus are women between the ages of 25 and 54. Bye-bye now. See ya. Happy trails. There's a reason that Andy Cohen gets off on watching black women fight each other on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. There's a reason why y'all sit up here and applaud Sexy Red, but will I'm trying to watch my language. Will crap on somebody like her name just Chrisette Michelle because she sang at an inauguration ball. This is the mindset that you have to deal with. And that's why I think there's two things from a scriptural perspective, because everybody wants to be so spiritual and you got your waist beads and your herbal tea. But let me tell you what the Bible says. It says two things. It says a lot, but these are the two things I want to highlight. It is better for a man to live in the corner of the roof of his house than be in a house with a quarrelsome woman. That's one. The other thing, and my favorite all-time verse in the Bible is, and I want you to understand this, be ye not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Examine what you're taking in. Examine what it is that you are watching, drinking, thinking, speaking, and all around consuming. And ask yourself, could I be an accessory after the fact to the stupid, reckless decisions I made? And what comes with that? That does not mean that you're cheering on anybody's unalivement or deletion, but it does mean that you will be what you see. And they've done studies with plants. Kids do this in high school. They'll take two plants and they'll water it and give them the same type of exposure, but they'll tell one, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're incredible. And then the other one, they'll say, you ain't shit, you this, that, and the third. And the one that gets spoken to negatively over time will wilt and die, even though the conditions are the exact same. But of course, it's just your guilty pleasure. It doesn't mean anything. And then you wonder why you popping off at the mouth. And or if your man knows that you never pop off on Pookie like that, because Pookie won't only just take you through the mattress, he'll take you through the funeral home. You feel safe to pop off because you have no control over any other aspect of your life. And I'm not saying you deserve what you get. All I'm saying is all men are capable, up to and especially the good ones that you think you can walk all over like a welcome mat because they decided to have you in their lives. See, women, you do control access to sex, but we do control access to marriage. And even with that, even if we commit and give our lives to you, the one thing that we don't want is to feel less than, unheard, disrespected, or you feel like you just going to sit up here and take our balls and play with them like a hacky sack on the quad on a white PWI. It's not happening. So make better choices and be mindful of what you're experiencing and how that experience is affecting your experience in our land.
Man,
I don't think they can. I'm gonna be honest. Y'all probably gonna kill me for this. I don't think black women are disposed to be able to make better choices because of the situation that they're coming from. Just like we're coming from a lack of fathers, they are too. So imagine imagine how young these women are whenever they start to date and start to bust it open. They are not even having relationships with their fathers. And even if they do have fathers, a lot of these women tend to disregard going through their father for relationships. You get what I'm saying? So we got to kind of understand that that's just going to happen. These women are not going to be equipped with the proper discernment to make better choices, which is why the Pookies are I always say Pookie's always get first dibs.
Yes.
And I'm willing to go on a record and correct me if I'm wrong. I think all of the women that we got right now,
Mhm.
a lot of guys don't want to admit this, even my wife. I believe that Pookie's had first dibs for all our women right now today.
Nice
is
guys
what-
don't finish last; they just fuck first.
It is what it is. They done had them. Like that's the game. And we can be mad at it, but that's just how it is. Our demographic of women are always going to go through the Pookies first. And by the grace of God, they run into us. You know what I'm saying? And who we've become, so to speak, so that they can be in a better relationship. But if we're expecting these women to make better choices, fellas, don't hold your breath.
So if what you're saying
Jesus.
is true, hold on, Darwin. If what you're saying is true, this is why the manosphere and these spaces that everybody thinks needs to shut up and close down. This is why it matters the quality of woman that you pick. Why? Because you can be the most incredible saint and mature, clinically sound person in the world, but if you keep living around a person that doesn't respect you, doesn't like you, doesn't listen to you, dehumanizes you, shames you in front of other people, you don't know what you're capable of. As a human being and as a man, when you keep staying in an environment where you're not allowed to be human, when you're constantly attacked, disrespected, maybe even physically attacked yourself, you don't know when you finally snap what that version is and looks like. This is why you don't stay and endure and do and deal with this type of stuff long term. You can't. We're trying to give men the traits. It's of course you want men to work out. You want them to meet with a life coach. You want them to maybe do some therapy if they need it. You want men to self-improve. That's the whole point of this space. But how can you self-improve with somebody who's weighting you down emotionally, psychologically? You can't. You cannot focus on self-improvement if you're keeping someone around you that you know is going to prevent that from happening, gentlemen. A thing I wanted to play real quick is and we talked about this whole thing of the illusion of power. Women believe that they can, and Dave kind of mentioned it. And Darwin, you said the same thing. Because of the way our society functions now, women are convinced. You have women like Jazz and others where they can't conceptually understand. So just because she's talking back to him, or because she's disrespectful, or because she's calling him out her name, that she deserves to lose her life or be physically assaulted? No, obviously. But if you don't understand cause and effect, and if you don't understand how you can increase the chances or likelihood for something, it's in your best interest not to do it. Case in point, if I live or work in the hood, does it make sense to me to walk around and floss a Rolex around and let everybody know I got a Rolex? I should have the freedom to be able to wear it anywhere and everywhere. But is it wise and practical for me to do that in an environment where I'm increasing the chances for somebody to rob me? Probably not. When you're doing life with men, y'all have to stop viewing men as other women where y'all can just say what y'all want indefinitely.
It's a fact.
Like for example, when women have this mentality, they think that there's nothing they can't do that won't warrant an equal or worse or greater response. We're not saying it's justified. This is why when fathers can't speak on who their daughters are ending up with, some of this stuff can happen.
That's it.
What we're basically trying to say is there are behaviors and traits and red flags. We already showed up some of them that a lot of times ladies are ignoring because he's attractive, because he got swag, because he has the lifestyle that I want, because my emotions are involved. If you think all these men acted and did these things and there were no warning signs leading up to this, you're crazy. 9 times out of 10, there is a lengthy track record of a variety of different things that escalated over time that got them to that point. So another one that I was going to throw out there is unsafe behaviors in public with others, men and women. What do I mean? Ladies love, and maybe are drawn to the whole bad boy thing. But as a guy, I learned, I used to deal with women, and I would deal with the toxic women, the hood chicks or whatever when I was younger. when I was hanging out with them, I started to notice where they would kind of get real adversarial and aggressive with like wanting to argue with other females or even other men while we out in public.
Right.
And what I'm trying to get men to understand is when you tolerate women that have no problem going off and acting that way in public, or ladies being with men that you can see he can't control himself when somebody accidentally steps on his shoes or somebody just is looking at you and now he's ready to fight or shoot somebody, that can come back to bite you. That can come back to bite you because if they're willing to do it in public, what aren't they willing to do or say in private? Y'all got to start listen, man, Cass is not getting it. Cass is not getting it. Let me play this one.
My husband. I pushed him. I screamed at him. I yelled until my throat was sore and all the neighbors knew my business. I would get in his face, curse him out, slam doors like it was my full-time job. And every time that man would build me up, once I started to learn his pattern, I would take so much advantage of the love that he would give me.
Have you guys noticed that most married men aren't actually happy? Most married men are lying to themselves and gaslighting themselves into thinking that they're happy in a marriage which is loveless, sexless, where the woman always argues.
I will literally bully my husband every single second of every day, but I'm the only one that can be mean to him.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but stop being mean to that man before it's too late. I don't know what this is psychologically, where like you'll be with someone that you secretly have resentment toward. If you don't truly feel strongly about that person, you don't belong in a relationship with them, and treating somebody like your rag doll is just such an awful thing to do to anybody.
Oh, guys, I yelled at my boyfriend this morning for like the first time ever. You know, my boyfriend, the angel boyfriend that was literally making me breakfast this morning while listening to classical music. Yeah.
Let's talk about something most men don't even realize, that they're being emotionally or mentally abused by their partner. Yeah, it happens to men too.
If my husband talked to me the way that I talk to him sometimes, I would be in a literal puddle. I am so mean to that man.
Unfortunately, we live in a culture that loves to demean men. You watch all the sitcoms, all the movies where men are beat up and put down by their wives like it's a sport. Like the women are looking for a medal at who can be funnier at the expense of their husbands.
The amount of you women that hate your husbands is beyond me.
So
See, those are the women.
So real quick, Darwin, and then jump in. So for everybody that doesn't understand why ladies' actions also contribute to this, that what you don't understand is that when it's a relationship and there's a dynamic going on, all these situations aren't just a guy just decided because it's Tuesday, now it's time for me to smack a woman around. Sometimes, not always, a lot of times, there is a normalized and desensitized level of disrespect that women are doing so long and they think that they're justified. The one lady towards the end said, if my man acted and treated me the way I treated him, I would be in a puddle. Ladies, sometimes the guy that snaps or the guy that moves like this, reevaluate. This is hard for ladies to do because we're victim shame. Slow down for a second and imagine that you can still be a victim and you could have still done things that contributed to increasing the chances for something horrible happening in this dynamic. You can be a legitimate victim and you were a horrible person before you got attacked. You cannot show up how you want to show up in general, but especially with men. If men showed up how some of you ladies showed up, these men would take their lives. Y'all leaving with black eyes. Y'all may be leaving with some other stuff. Ladies, I promise you, every guy's not good. Every woman's not good. But focusing on just on not even the negative traits of men, but just wanting to focus on men is not going to help a relationship issue. You have to as a woman, think about the type of men you're attracted to, how you're showing up, and if you even respect him. Darren, what were you about to say?
First of all, I was going to say that all of those women out there that was doing their man wrong, I would say 9 times out of 10, those dudes that's tolerating that probably got a chick on the side. That's just how it happens, bro. You disturb a man peace, bro, he gonna get peace somewhere else. It is what it is. But I will say that a lot of the I think most men are like me in this instance. Whenever we're dealing with women or significant others, we don't really come in the room starting shit. We don't just come in and pick fights. We enter into conversations and it turns into a fight because it usually starts like this. A woman wants to tell you how you made her feel. A woman wants to tell you how she feels. And that turns into her judging you. It's not, fellas, when a woman, and y'all probably can put a one in the chat if y'all believe me. When a woman come telling you how you feel, bro, the likelihood of that shit turning into an argument is almost inevitable, bro. It's never just about how you feel. Okay, I'm sorry how you feel that way. It's no, well, why did you make me feel that way? And then you are always doing this, and you are doing, and it'd be some shit that happened 2 months ago sometimes. And I might be projecting a little bit, but I'm just trying to be relatable. Because like I said, just because we're behind a microphone and we happen to be experts and deal with other people and help people navigate them, doesn't mean that we're absolved from the same shit y'all go through. We go through the same shit. Excuse my language. So that's all I wanted to say on it.
Obsidian, what about you?
That whole feeling thing. See, my thinking is this. I think men are responsible for their own emotional state. I don't think any woman's responsible for a man's emotional state. I think that's for each man to work out on his own. If he needs to seek counsel for that, informally, formally, or both, fine. The same thing holds for the ladies. I don't think that men are responsible for women's emotional state. So if somebody said something that upset you, my thing would be, okay, what is it that he said that upset me? Why am I so upset about that? And like you said earlier, Jeff, if you are in a situation where you're with somebody that constantly upsets you, that's probably a sign that you need to leave. I find that a lot of black couples, it's always after the fact. There was a movie years ago. This is like early 21st century, 2002, something like that. Anyway, it was a movie called Minority Report. I don't know if anybody saw this Tom Cruise picture. And the idea was the police had the ability to prevent crimes before they even happen, right? Which I was really into that idea. I like that idea. I want to prevent stuff before it gets that far. I noticed black folk wait until things get extreme and really bad, then we got to have all this post-mortem. Cut it off at the pass. I'm not going to be around somebody to where I'm always upset all the time. That's a sign that that's not the right person for me. I need to get away from them. Okay. So in Darwin's situation, what he was speaking to, rather, not him personally, but what he was speaking to, well, I want to talk about how you made me feel. Okay. I can't make you feel anything, number one. And number two, if you're constantly upset, maybe that's a sign we don't need to be together. That's where I'm at with it. I don't want to be with somebody that's constantly making me upset. I don't want to be with somebody where they feel I'm constantly making them upset. That's a sign to get away from it. But you know what people do in the black community, and this is on both sides, we don't want to admit that often we're with people that the only real thing we have in common is sex. See, we don't want to talk about that. Okay.
What about you, Dave?
See, we don't want to deal with the fact that, I want to be very careful with this. Some of us are really good at short-term mating. We're really good at it. One night stand, weekend fling, cuffing season. And some of us are really good at long-term mating. So marriage, relationships. I can't be the only person in Black America that's noticed this. There's some of us that seem to be really good at one or really good at the other, but rarely both. It's a rare black man or black woman that's equally good at short-term mating and long-term mating. Typically, it's one or the other. And I think there are psychological and personality reasons for that. But see, what ends up happening very often in the black community, people, black men and black women alike, try to make a short-term situation into a long-term situation. And what works well short-term doesn't tend to map over well in what works long-term. Successful long-term relationships are not going to be sex-drenched. Okay? They're not. That's not to say that you're not going to have any sex at all, but the focus shifts. You know, if you're married, got children, obviously it's going to shift to that. But you know, in other things. Whereas in a short-term situation, that's the draw, is the sex. That's what it is. So you figure that the trade-off is, you know, she acts crazy or he does this or whatever. You know what I mean? That's okay. You can kind of see it, but see, that can't work long-term. It can't work long-term. Long-term is a completely different animal.
Yep.
Completely different animal. And see, this is the reason why I say, Jeff, I don't think black people, so that we're clear, not just black women, black men too. I don't think many of us really want to know how long-term relationships work, because the reason why I say that is because what we really want is performance. And see, when you're in a short-term situation, that's what you're getting. You're getting a performance. She's performing for you and you performing for her if you're a man, and all of that. And that's great in that moment. But day to day, it can't be a performance every day, bro. It can't be. By definition. Good relationships are boring. There's no drama. There's no fighting. There's no gratuitous back shots on the balcony every day. No. Good relationships are like kind of mundane and boring and uneventful. That's what good relationships are. So this is the reason why I say to brothers, when you hear sisters say, "Oh, I don't like," matter of fact, Lori Harvey just I just saw this. She dumped Damson Idris because he was too nice. See, that's a sign, brothers, to get as far. When you hear a woman say some stuff like that, she is damaged. Get as far away from her as possible. Think about Chernobyl. Or here, you know about this, Jeff, 3 Mile Island. These nuclear disasters. See, being around nuclear waste can make you sick, man. It can kill you. Same thing with these women. Being around these individuals who say what Lori Harvey says, "Oh, he's too nice," get away from her. You can't stop trying to save her. She don't save her, bro. She don't want to be saved. Get away from her. Okay? Get back away slowly from her. Just back away. A good relationship is by definition boring.
Yeah.
Okay. By definition. You want fireworks? Get you a situation. Y'all do what y'all do. Boom, 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 and then that's it. That's all it is. Don't try to convert her into a long-term relationship. Don't try to convert him into a long-term relationship. Y'all just got together, do what y'all do. That's it. And leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And my initial point for me, obviously we talked about we want men to get involved with other men and not live in isolation. I have a men's for a virtual self-improvement group. Many other men I know actually are running these now in person or virtual. We are starting to encourage more and more men to actually choose the correct therapist that understands men and know what men's needs are for sure. But my warning to ladies specifically, this is something I want them to kind of think about seriously. When you're deciding or been ready to go through a divorce, separation, or breakup, that's actually not the time to try to make someone pay and be punished as much as humanly possible. It's actually not the time. I know ladies think, now that he means nothing to me, let me do the worst thing possible imaginable to him. Ladies, y'all gonna end up like one of these statistics. Divorce, separation and breakups is actually not the time to try to do the worst things imaginable to try to punish this man as much as humanly possible. Weaponizing that man's access to his children can cost you your life. Destroying his reputation maliciously can cost you your life. Having that man continually raising a child that only you know is not his can cost you your life. Destroying his physical property and attacking him verbally, physically, psychologically can cost you your life. I'm going to say this, man. Ladies, you're not responsible for a man putting his hands on you or trying to take your life.
At all.
But there are things that you can do that can absolutely increase the chances of that happening. What we're challenging you on is to stop doing that and stop sticking around with men that you believe brings that out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did Obsidian just say? The men that don't bring that out of you, you think are boring.
Yep.
So you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want your head thrown up in between the washboard, the washing machine, or you want to deal with a man that's not going to do that? And can you actually respect him and listen to him? Or is it a guy got to talk to you crazy, or you got to walk over a guy? Why are those the only two options relationally till y'all get old enough and aged out? Fellas, you cannot stay with a woman that doesn't listen to you and doesn't respect you. I see it in the chat. People talking that Darwin mentioned it earlier. I'm not saying marriage and children, those being a factor, that the process isn't harder.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying that the men that try to ignore that, especially if it's bad, these are often what the results can potentially be. You become a shell of yourself. You're not even getting sex. Your friends don't respect you. You're ashamed to humiliate to let people know what's going on. You're living in a life of isolation. The loneliest I've ever been was in a relationship with a woman in the past. That was the loneliest I've ever felt in my entire existence of life, was when I was in a relationship with the wrong woman and was trying to stay to make it work. And I'll leave it at that. That's the truth. And the amount of men that's come out of relationships and marriages that said the same thing. The lady in the video said it too. A lot of y'all not happy. And I'm not the one that starts with the whole, you ain't happy, just leave. Just leave because you ain't happy. I'm talking about things that are being done that can result in men snapping and turning into this version of themselves. And to the ladies like Rihanna that are convinced that if he says or does something I don't like or that hurts my feelings, I'm now justified to do anything I want, you're going to end up a statistic. Cheating doesn't justify you putting your hands on that man. As crazy as it sounds, ladies. Him finding out he got other children doesn't justify you attacking him. Other women contacting you does not mean you get to start doing and saying whatever you want to this man. You could be angry, you could be hurt, you could be upset, you could feel violated, you can leave, you can go through separation, you could replace him. But if you decide now's the time for me to get even, or now's the time for me to do X, Y, and Z, every man won't take your various forms of abuse. Even the one like Dave or Darwin said, even the ones that you think will take it till they don't.
Mm-hmm.
If a man brings that out of you, you have to meet with a therapist or a crisis intervention worker and start working on a plan. Now, there are domestic violence shelters specifically for women and children, not nearly many at all for men. But the point still stands that if and when you know that you're in a situation like this, it's okay to acknowledge, I don't know how to get through this on my own. Your psychology has told you and convinced you to stay all this time, that maybe this will be the last time. Well, he promised this time it'll get better. This is one of the few areas where I have a very low level of grace personally, because I'm always dealing with the after effects. When people are coming in after he's beat the shit out of her, after the children have seen it, after the cops have come in, and depending on how things are coming in, the cops intervene, somebody could end up getting shot or locked up, or both of y'all. And now y'all kids are being sent to DIFAS, the child protective services.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all sticking around with people that don't want to listen to you, or you don't want to be led by, is going to be a reason for how this type of stuff can happen. If she can't respect you and you can't respect him, go y'all separate ways. If you don't want to listen to him and he can't lead you and she don't want to listen to you, go y'all separate ways. Y'all have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because the best case scenario when it goes too far left is for your face to end up looking like Rihanna, but you're still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, go ahead, bring us home.
All right. Let me say this. I've seen a lot. I have seen famous couples throw things at each other. Throw things at each other's head. People that you have seen sell out stadiums and charge for pictures at $1,000 a clip. Duck phone sets in hotel rooms. I have seen athletes be smacked around by their baby mamas, wives, whatever the case may be. I've seen actors go through things. There's a lot that we don't tend to like to talk about. But I will say this, to piggyback off of Jeff's eloquent point. The safety of our women is a priority for our men. Those of us who are men. The problem is there's too many women out here confusing adult males with men.
Mm-hmm.
And because adult males don't come with accountability or standards, guardrails, or pushbacks, you would rather have what you call a real man until that real man puts his real hands around your throat. Till that real man starts doing real man things with your best friend, then you mad. When that real man says, I ain't the marrying type, then he sucked up all of your youth. But somehow in there, it's our fault. And when we point it out, then we're blaming the victim and we don't know how to keep women safe. But my whole thing is there's something that has to be said. First, violence is never okay. Men, you should never put your hand on a woman. However, in a society like the one that we're in, even, and I don't know if anybody here else does martial arts, but I do. You are allowed to defend yourself, incapacitate to the point that you can get away. That is the goal, regardless of who does what. And I'm going to do that because I got to get home to my family one way or the other. Having said that, when you put yourself in a situation where you think that you are either Siegfried or Roy, and you know these tigers so well because they're Bengal tigers and they're so pretty and they're so majestic and they're so big and so strong and they would never hurt you until that tiger goes tiger on you, Roy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. We've got to understand that there are certain things that come with being an adult and being strong and independent. So you're either strong or independent, and you are capable of making very sound, rational decisions that keep you safe, or you're a weak little flower who needs other men who did not make that decision to come in and save you from the decisions that you made. It can't be both. Two things can be true, but on that, you're either strong and independent, or you are a waif and a flower who needs guidance. But if this is who you are, then when we give you the solutions, whether you like it or not, you might want to take it. I don't know anybody who goes, you know what I need right now is a tetanus shot. The passport bros will tell you, depending on which country they're going to, they got to get some shots. But they do it because they know that what they're going to get on the other side. It's the same thing with the medicine. You might not like the taste, you might not like the pain, but the truth of the matter is the medicine will heal you if you're willing to take it. But too many of y'all feel like you're just going to positive thought your way, you're going to group chat your way, you're going to mimosa brunch, girls trip, and vision board dinner yourself into a successful marriage. And then finally, last I checked, Bill Nye does not have a vagina. So why are you trying to run experiments where you think you're going to change him through vaginal alchemy into a upstanding gentleman, corporate Tupac type? I'm going to tell you something you don't know. Tupac was a theater kid. I worked for his mother and I met the man twice. He was a theater kid. He was not a gangster. He tried to do some gangster stuff and we saw how that ended up. So the archetype that you might have in your head doesn't even exist. It was created by the people who wrote Juice. But again, if you continue to go your own way, be strong and independent enough to deal with the consequences of the decisions that you've made. And don't be surprised when you have turned. Y'all always love talking about a good girl going bad, but you never talk about the nice guy that's going rogue. Because you love to say, look what you made me do, but look what you made him do. Look at what the situation you chose to participate in and abuse for your own selfish reasons so that you can have something to say. I know women, and this is anecdotal, but I know women who will say that my girlfriends have drama. Why can't you be more like they men? Why can't you do this? All you do is just let me walk all over you. Men would rather shut down than go 3 rounds with your mouth. That's it, and that's all. And that's not blaming the victim. That's telling you an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Because if you weren't messing with the tigers, if you weren't messing with the pookies, if you didn't put yourself in a situation where you wanted somebody to take you through there, you will still be here 9 times out of 10. And that's just it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man, especially for those who are going to be wondering and reevaluating, like, well, does this conversation help? Is it helpful? It's going to be helpful for people who have an open mindset about understanding that men and women have roles to play and how they can increase the chances of falling in or staying in a dynamic like this. It's not going to be helpful to people who are convinced only men need to change anything. In fact, it's not going to be helpful to people who only think women just need to shut up and move accordingly. You have to look at warning signs. You have to look at red flags. In fact, I'll do this. For everybody that wants to know what to do, how do we fix this? Number 1, men's groups. The reality is, as long as you're single on your own and not messing with women in any way, shape, or form, you're probably fine. You probably don't need anything. You're literally just doing life. It is what it is. The moment you've decided you want to do life with someone else or other people are now dependent on you, we're going to recommend, again, for all of you that hate therapy, that hate talking, that hate reaching out and connecting with other guys, there's a reason why more and more men are starting to lean towards some type of form of variation of men's group and community. It could be a workout group. It could be a running group. It could be a self-improvement group. You have to start with getting connected with men that have something in common with you. Why? Because when you live life on an island and you have the pressure of kids, you have the pressure of work, you have the pressure of the women in your life, things can get to you and you won't even know how it's affecting or changing you often until it's too late. But when you have somebody in your worldview or your sphere who's been through some stuff, who's going through the same thing, you have an accountability partner. You now have someone who can point you into a resource that they had to tap in when they were at their low point. They can send you to the trauma therapist. They can send you to the person who can help you get back on your medication. They can connect you with somebody who will help you to manage your money better. They can send you and connect you with somebody that can help you walk through the separation process and navigate how to go through a proper divorce instead of going through it on your own. Number 2, accountability partners. If you don't want to do a men's group, get into the habit of recognizing you're not perfect, you don't have it all together, and you're not going to always handle things in the best way that you could and should. If you pick an older male mentor, or at least somebody who you can respect and you see that's wise and has some type of form of a life relationship you're looking to emulate and have yourself, see if they're willing to be your accountability partner. Point number 3, enroll in a battering intervention program. Or at least start with therapy with somebody who has this in their background. It can help you. Number 4, whether it's you're the perpetrator or the victim, when you meet with somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, instead of yapping in our comment sections and talking about what we did and didn't talk about, you'd actually sit down with somebody that will actually help you go through a proper full assessment that includes your diagnostic mental health history, past challenges relating to that, your medication management, and if you need any, potentially sending you to see if you need to get blood work done. Because when people are getting abused, we don't know what their cortisol levels are. We don't know if they got high blood pressure. We don't know if they're depressed. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, we start finding out in the weeds what's happening to you while you're going through this, so that we can starting to help you in the areas that you need it most. In the course of going through that proper assessment, we're also going to look at lethal means, both with yourself and the other person involved, and who's likely to use it on themselves and or others. That may mean a lot of knives and weapons got to be confiscated. I've had people turn in weapons to my office and drop it on my desk and leave it there till further notice. So while y'all yapping, other people trying to keep other people alive. I've had women that want to keep yapping while men have handed over guns to me. But y'all don't think this through, because you think only one sex got to change anything. How about shut up and listen? We have to identify major problems and potential concerns, and whether or not the potential abuse is random or escalating, whether there's children involved. We have to look at weapons, substance, family members that's involved, friends that's involved, law enforcement, community plan of separation, items that you may need if you're on medication, if you need medication, children in custody, transportation, pickup, drop-offs, therapy, homicidal and self-harm assessments, primary prevention, verbal abuse, emotional, physical, sexual, child financial weaponization, self-harm, intimidation, and it's the crazy part. After all of that, we have to get the person that's sitting in front of us to make sure that they're not matching energy, that they don't react, even when they're tempted to. And then see if we can connect them to a domestic violence shelter if they don't have a designated safe place that they can go to. And then incorporating people in their actual lives beyond the therapy session, that's going to be a part of whatever it is that they're about to do in this next journey. And then convince them, for those that's scared to leave, to collect documentation, screenshots, voice recorders, voice notes. But when you don't know any of this stuff, this is why women end up dead and when men end up taking their lives. Because a lot of y'all panderers and a lot of y'all feminists, y'all don't actually care about anybody but women and men looking bad. You don't care about actually saving lives. If you did, you'd be interested in men's mental health. And if you were interested in men's mental health, you'd be interested in the ways in which women can do things that can affect it, good and bad. But you're not. That's why you don't want to hear about women in this process, because you don't actually care about men. And if you don't care about men, you don't actually care about women, you don't actually care about the Black community or marriages or relationships, you're frauds. That's a plan for everybody that the conscious leads of the world and everybody else. That's a plan. That's an actual plan of actually helping somebody. So everything else y'all doing, you're bringing awareness. Congratulations. Things go viral. Men are dangerous. Congratulations. What's next? And water is wet. That's an actual plan of what to do, how to help. And I like a lot of y'all yappers, some of us have actually been doing this for years. I'm gonna let each of y'all kind of close this out, man.
Jeff, I want to thank you once again for taking the lead on this. I wish you were under better circumstances, but this just underscores the need for brothers like you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this. Very good discussion. Lots of very useful information. I want to say to any brother out there, you're not alone. It's okay to reach out to any one of us. We can talk anytime about these things. It's always good to take a step back, talk to a brother. We can work things out. We're going to be doing this at the Conclave. I've been making notes here. We're going to be doing this at the Conclave too in September in Vegas. So all the information on the website. By the way, I have written about these events. It's over on the website, on the Black Manosphere website. I have my personal Patreon as well, but Go to the Black Manosphere website. It's free to the public. Anybody can read it. Please avail yourselves, brothers, of those resources. Take this tonight's episode, share it with a brother that you know and love. We're trying to save lives. That's what the Black Manosphere is all about. I want to thank my brothers. It continues to be an honor serving with you all. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Go ahead, Dave.
I think the thing that makes the four of us great is the similarities and also our differences. We all have different ways of handling things. I had a conversation with Jeff that I won't disclose, but in that conversation, he said something and he said it to me in such a calm way that I was just like, wait, did he say what I think he said? And I was just like, Jeff, like,
you know, you can say it. I don't care.
All right. Well, so listen,
you don't have to go into names, but
no, I'm not gonna go into names. I promise. Not gonna name names. There is a particular troll that wants to make his living by coming after channels on YouTube that are bigger.
Actually, let's not do it.
Okay,
let's
cool.
not do it. Based on what I said in that call. Leave it at that.
Yeah. So the point was, the advice I was given in such a way, it was very mafia Don, but that ain't the Jeff y'all got tonight. Y'all got straight up and down, I don't give a googop Jeff tonight, and he's telling y'all because it's extremely important that we take these issues seriously, and I don't want to lose sight of the main thing. We have a situation where 8 children are gone. As a father, that is my worst nightmare. Whenever I get a call and I don't have eyes on my kids and somebody I know who's close to me says, "Are you sitting down? Are you good?" My first thought is automatically to my kids or, someone I love. And to me, that's crazy. And I'm like, when will we start to realize that there was a time where you couldn't walk down the street in your neighborhood without everybody knowing what the hell happened, and then you got a good talking to, or you got seen? When you look at other communities that are prominent in America, the one thing that you will see is that they tend to handle things in-house, and we not calling the cops. And I think that that's something that we need to start happening. And I also think that God is really perfect in his design. And he gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So people who have so much to say should listen twice as much as they talk before they're telling clinicians and, people who have been in therapy and conflict resolution for the better part of 3.5 decades, like Jeff and myself. So you have to understand that you're not going to like everything all 4 of us say. Hell, you might like 75%. But anyway you slice it, the reason that we do this together is so that you get a very wide variety of perspectives based upon our own individual life experiences. And listen, I'm going to wrap up because it's getting late and Darwin looks like he needs his juice box. So I want to let you guys know tomorrow morning, of course, now we're going 5 days a week. This show is going so well. Dave Anderson Morning News is going 5 days a week, 9 to 11 Eastern time. And I want to thank everybody who comes through and super chats and all that good stuff. If you've not checked out the show, I invite you to it. It's a lot of fun. And my album, Shill Music, is dropping on May 1st.
Oh,
of course. Yeah, it's going very well. iPad Cheeks is my lead single, and we got some bangers. I just recorded an Afrobeat song I'm very excited about. It's called Tethermouth, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Why are you laughing? And
Tethermouth.
Tethermouth.
Dara, what about you, brother?
All I can say is enjoy the conversation like always. This is one of those subjects where you really gotta be careful with what you say and how it's delicate and there's kids involved, man. So I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to be on a show, on a topic, on live, where we can showcase that, we're able to take accountability as men. And we're not just sitting up here pointing the finger and blaming either side. We're actually looking at practical solutions on how to mitigate this, and just having somebody that works in the mental health lane
Right.
among the conversation is grand, because I can't tell you how many posts I've seen coming down my timeline that people not even qualified to speak on the conversation.
Mm.
And the amount of traffic and engagement they're getting, it's just ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
like, why y'all even feeding into that whenever these people don't even have the credibility or integrity to speak on this subject matter? So thankfully we got a brother like Jeff to be able to host a topic like this. And it's just funny seeing people who don't have the credibility hosting these topics and don't really know what to say. They just want to, I guess, benefit from the gender war. And that's
Mhm.
just a thing that y'all got to watch out for as an audience.
Mhm.
So that's all I got to say.
That's it.
I'm gonna say this. Actually, let me play this real quick, and I'm gonna let you.
Let's get into it. 2 years ago, I met a female content creator who was very confidently telling women she would never get married, she didn't trust men, that marriage was basically slavery, and other women shouldn't do it either. A few days ago, she got engaged. And in the comments, you could see that many of her followers felt betrayed. But there's actually a very big lesson in here that you need to learn. Many of you are getting rage baited into hating the opposite sex by people who have no business giving you advice and would change their tune in a second if they found the right person. And that's how you end up taking life advice that takes you down the wrong path. Real life advice about relationships, about how to see the opposite sex, how much you trust, how open or closed you are to love, from people who are figuring it out just like you, confused just like you. They're just doing it on camera with some feminist buzzwords and a monetization strategy. What works for one person will not always work for you. What resonates emotionally is not always the same as what's true. And someone being loud and confident doesn't mean they have any business telling you how to live. I have never seen so many people be afraid of love and the opposite sex in my life. I want no part in this. And please consider that many of today's successful female icons who are empowering you, whether it's Cody Sanchez or Emma Grede or Sarah Blakely, they're all married too. To be an empowered woman doesn't mean to reject love. It means to reject men who are unworthy of you so you can find the one who is. Next time a creator is telling you to hate someone, to distrust someone, to write off an entire gender, ask yourself, is this wisdom or is this someone's very certain sounding opinion that an algorithm decided to put in front of my face today?
That's going to be my closing words. That there's going to be people who are going to use these opportunities to continue to market to their base of whatever form of demonization they want to do in mass and in general. Some people are going to look at this situation and say, see, this is why you got to stay away from black men. Or this is why you got to not deal with men at all. Some people will listen to what we just talked about today about instructing men on not only working on themselves, but also being why it's so important and matters about the quality of woman you choose to do life with. And say, oh, they're just demonizing women. No, we're trying to let you know that there's problematic traits in both sexes that you need to avoid, leave behind, and stop prioritizing that can increase your chances for something like this to happen. So what that lady just said on the screen is my warning to everybody that's watching this. If after watching this, you've decided all men are bad, all men are horrible, all men are trash, stay away from men. Please do us all a favor. And when I say stay away, I mean stay away from them completely. And if you are a man that can't see any good in women, so when we're saying, well, look for the positive traits in women, you say they all got negative traits, please stay away from women, brother. This is for people who's actually open to listening. So plain and simple, we've outlined a lot of steps. You can take the offer, connect with other men, start working on things that you didn't even realize could manifest in a relationship, especially when you work through therapy, psychodynamic approach. We can look at your past and see how that plays out in your current relationships, a whole nine. Or you can keep doing life solo and keep dealing with random women and hope for the best that you won't be Me Too'd or you're in a situation that ends up resulting like the gentleman we played at the beginning. And roll the dice. Or not deal with women at all. But for the ladies that's watching, when we say what your father would have told you or should have told you, there are people that may have told you that's not the right guy and you didn't listen. Or there were people who would have liked to tell you things and they felt like they weren't allowed to. My suggestion is spend this season not listening to the angriest misandrists, feminists, and panderers who are trying to convince you that you're so in danger that every single man around you is a predator. You don't move that way. You don't live that way. When you go shopping and you go into stores, you're not freaking out about the cashier. You're not freaking about all these 80-90% of the men around you. You are actually, you're not even paying attention to them. That's actually your real world. The domestic violence situation is happening in intimate relationships by and large. So the quality of the man you pick and the quality of the woman you pick absolutely matters. And the sooner that you react to red flags, especially after a first or second warning, the less likely you are to end up in these type of DV cases. I promise you. If you have a low bar when it comes to red flags because of attractions and sex, don't be surprised if this is potentially on the table when things go south. And if you are convinced, ladies and gentlemen, that if you have to do something illegal on your way out of a relationship, if you believe that, I got to burn a car, I got to stalk them, I got to harass them, I got to make up lies about them. If you feel that way, you're not healthy enough to be in a relationship today. Plain and simple. So yeah, man. So that's it. I hope that this show was helpful for those that actually had an open mind. We know that it's not going to work for those who never had an open mind to begin with. But I think we have 3 super chats left. True, from my understanding, a lot of women stay in toxic relationships since for household toxicity from relatives. I think we covered that one. Who else we got? Appreciate you, G, for the 1999. Paul for the 1999. This inspired my song. She know. Yeah, man. Thank you for that. DBS, $5. Jeff, how much does bipolar and narcissistic personality gets undiagnosed? It's insane. I don't know the percentages offhand, but I know it's pretty bad. Especially for those that don't go to treatment at all. Hey, Carrington, man, thank you for the $50. Beautiful session, gentlemen. Let's all do the work to become better. Shout out to Dr. Sperling. And then last but not least, RS11. So let everybody, if you are currently still watching, please subscribe, follow all these different gentlemen. Make sure you let them know that you came from the men's table. Make sure you support these fellas. Buy their books if you haven't done so. A lot of this stuff, all the links have been shared in the chat throughout the night. Everybody have a good evening, and we're going to see y'all potentially, well, definitely next week. And whether I'm there or not, the show is definitely still going to happen. I got another obligation that may be popping up. But guys, I thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you,
This was a tough combo, but I think that we covered.
Thank you, Darwin. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
This is really good, man. This is really good.
No, we needed this. I'm so happy we got to do this show today. It was hard, but we definitely needed this. And again, keep that family in your prayers because 8 children are gone. Please don't lose sight of that.
Yeah. And for those that's connected, both there and all these different women and families that we just showed, if you guys know any of them personally, feel free to connect them with myself or other people, especially grief counselors, so that they can kind of walk these people through that stuff. It's going to be a very, very difficult time and process for these families and the immediate friends and circles. So if you care about them and if they haven't been linked to services, feel free to kick them my way or to other people, and we'll make sure to link them with who they need to be as well. So guys, everybody enjoy it. Have a good evening. And if you can, please share this with 2, 3, 4, even 5 people. This is the end of the men's table. We'll see y'all again next week. Talk to y'all on the other side. Deuces.